Okay, unmute myself. Great. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WhickTV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both foreign and domestic, political and cultural, silly and serious. Today we're going to be talking about, well, a rather broad topic of React content. Are we in a never-ending Ouroboros of just shitty React content being regurgitated out again and again and again and again until we all perish of lack of creativity? How ethical is it for larger streamers to react to smaller streamers' contents drawing away their views? Is this actually a problem? We're going to talk about all this and more. We're going to talk about YouTube moderation. We're going to talk about strikes in general. And also, hashtag justice for counterpoints. My friend, counterpoints got banned on X today, and that was a tragedy, and we talk about that. But I want everyone a chance to introduce themselves, say hi, see what you think about React content, and we're going to start with our friend, Rezzivaer. What you got?
Yeah, so I'm not coming into this just about React content. I want to talk about copyright largely, the problems with copyright as it exists, and everything like that. My prepared statements are as such. Copyright was created to protect authors and other creative individuals from losing the value of the works that they have created. Great example of this is Edgar Allan Poe dying penniless because of publishers that stole the works that he had, published them, and ultimately left him destitute in his days. I think that this is a reflection of the societies and what we enforce upon artists that ultimately constrain artists. Copyright does no longer reflects this ethos of trying to protect authors. Current systems surrounding copyright expand creative control long past the lives of the author and their progeny and benefit merely companies that hold on to these works. The current day sees copyright merely existing to protect the structures of the powers that be and enforces those structures without any critical analysis. Were we to fix our systems that provide men of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, copyright would not be a need and art could be freely practiced. We must recall the time of the Ooga Booga tribe. They made the Ooga Booga and freely allowed others to use that Ooga Booga. Today we stand on the backs of these anti-copyright intellectuals, and we must honor our true history, not the dystopian functions we have grown accustomed to.
Okay. Well, it's the opening statement. Thank you for being here, and I'm glad to have you, friend.
Sure. Yeah.
Flowtrace, what you got?
Yeah, I think copyright and React content is sort of it's the classic example of I think people ruining a good thing. There are absolutely ways you can do ethical React content where you can be truly transformative, and I think we all seen plenty of examples of these. The problem is that human beings do love to be lazy, and I'm not immune to that. But I think we've let our desire to want to have easy and free content sort of override the way in which you have ethical React content. The vast majority of React content these days, I don't think, is anywhere near what is appropriate or is what should be allowed, and I think we need to really rein it back in. But there is a way to do that right, and I hope we can sort of get back to that.
Turkey, how's it going on your end? Are you ready for your debut? Or
I can make my statement. I have no idea how to fucking do this plugin thing,
we'll
bro.
fuck with the plugin later.
Can you just deal with Squidward's suicide? Can you just have that on screen as me? I feel like that's funnier.
What does your
That's
stream
what we
look
need,
like?
that's
Can
what
you
we
just give us your stream? Like?
It's me playing Fortnite.
Can you give us your stream?
That's fucking perfect. That's
an
fucking
upside.
perfect for React content.
Do you want to
That's
watch
hilarious.
me play Fortnite?
Yes.
We'll react
Sure,
to
why
it.
the fuck not?
We'll get we'll see how that goes. But anyway, just
There you
give
go,
us
buddy.
your-
You thought I was
there we
kidding?
go.
You thought I was trolling?
Base.
Perfect.
Okay, what you got for us, Turkey Tom? What's your take here?
Fuck, I didn't actually know this was like a super prepared thing. Okay, I think
It's
that
not just
React.
what do you think? It's
I'm just I go overboard. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. I think React content is lazy, kind of trashy, especially in the way that someone like XQC does it. But I feel like most of the time it's probably not that harmful to the content ecosystem. I do wish that he would, put a little more time to his content. But ultimately, I think the greater problem would be like, you can have a problem with the content all you want, but if people watch it, someone's gonna make it, someone's gonna participate, and someone's gonna profit from it. So maybe you can try to educate viewers, I guess, on how you think that content's bad, but I think they're just not gonna give a shit and say we're gonna watch it anyway. So that would be my thoughts on that. Yeah, I don't really like XQC stuff. I wouldn't watch it, but I just big picture, I kind of don't care, I guess.
Fair enough. Last, certainly not least,
Okay. Wait, I will say I would care more probably if I was a smaller content creator and I was like not really making any money from YouTube. Like if I was just starting out and I was watching someone like XQC make like $10,000 on a hour-long reaction to my hour-long video that I put a bunch of time into that he barely tried, I would probably be more mad, and I'm sympathetic to those people. I think they have good intentions, but as a larger content creator, if someone reacts to my stuff, I personally don't care to file DMCAs or get mad about it.
Sure, I'm sure that there's like levels to this, whereas after you break a certain threshold, it doesn't really impact you. But we're going to talk about the impact as, again, on the whole. We'll get into it. But I want to give Beckett a chance to have his thoughts before we get.
Hey, thanks for having me, Beckett of Crabs. It's always a pleasure. So React content. React content is lazy. Some of it's, I think there is actually a skill level to doing React content well. I think some larger streamers actually don't do it very well. A lot of it is through sort of like osmosis of the cult of personality. They've just been around a long fucking time. If XQC turned out today, no one would fucking watch XQC. No one fucking cares. The most entertaining thing he's done in years is pretend to be a fucking worm. Like, it's just pointless. But I think there is a wider conversation about like the value of this stuff. Yeah, there's a question of like smaller content creators and things and transformative work. But there's stuff that's come out of using copyright stuff that perhaps has had quite an effect. So for instance, if we look at the like My Little Pony community, a lot of the reason that community went so downhill was around the wider content created around it, which a lot was using copyrighted material. And it breeds weird things within fandoms, where it kind of then bled back and, well, frankly, made a child's cartoon much more geared towards an adult fan base, which was just fucking weird. And now we've got an entire community of like children's cartoon React content. At the same time, you've got like the history of YouTube is actually like really tied to React content. The idea of taking someone else's video, picking it apart point by point, and then having like React in the title so it was right next to their video on the recommended is how a lot of the early skeptic and anti-SJW and atheist community fucking worked. And I'm not sure it was a good thing because it bred it essentially, I think, bred a lot of the drama communities that we see now. So I don't think React content is just React content to content. There's wider drama and stuff that erupts around that. And frankly, also, just finally, some of it's fucking weird. You've got people like, so Chris Dangerfield is an ex-comedian crack addict who's like alt-right and is constantly fighting like copyright disputes on YouTube because one of his major content things is reacting to Dragon's Den. So it veers into weird fucking areas. And I think overall, like using bits of clips of a video is very different to like pure whole React content. And I think unless it's done well and it's truly transformative, I don't know whether it's ethical.
We keep saying things like, "Oh, it can be done well if it's done well." Like, I wish other people would do it well. Can we point to anything that does it well? Like an example of this, please?
Yes, I've got a bunch of examples. I think the first and primary one that I think most people are familiar with is reactions that bring a knowledge base to a previous video that enhance it. I don't know if I'm sure we've all seen at least one of those Insider or GQ videos where they take someone that is an expert in a field, like, you know, they take someone who went to jail for bank robbing and they start breaking down scenes from like Ocean's 11 or something like that. These kinds of videos I think are very transformative. They bring new knowledge and new content to it, and the people who are watching those videos aren't watching them because they want to see like Ocean's 11 clips. They're watching them for that content. There are also channels that are entirely built around this kind of thing. Like, for example, I love a channel called Vlogging Through History. He'll react to historical videos, and oftentimes he'll be doubling, tripling the length of those videos because he'll be continually be pausing, adding additional context, anecdotes from history. There are lots of expert channels that do stuff like this.
Yeah, there's I've just been watching, I've forgotten his name, but he does like content like Critical Drinker, where he's taking like Marvel movies and he did breakdown of Ant-Man, like the new Ant-Man film and the Doctor Strange film. And these, like, the movie's like an hour and a half. His video is like 5 hours long on it. And I think that's an incredibly different kind of analysis to just reacting to something where we're just sat here going, "Oh my god, chat, that's so crazy, chat. That's so incredible. Chat, have you seen this? Wow, chat." That's like a really different level, right?
I guess my question for you guys would be like, what is the let's say we have this conversation. Let's say we all did come to a consensus that what XQC does is like bad/unethical. Like, what is the end result? Like, do you think that people should like mass DMCA him if he reacts to stuff, or?
I think
I mean, if you're really dumb, sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to shoot yourself in the foot and you want to be unsuccessful on the internet, absolutely, you should do that. 100%. I think that that's a
Okay.
great idea. I think if you care about ethics so much, and literally, like, why I wanted to expand this more into copyright. Copyright as a system exists as a way for artists to go ahead and get paid. It is a response to capital. It is a response to capitalism, all right, and the needs that capitalism foists on the individual, right? So ultimately, yeah, if you want to do a capitalism bad, yeah, you should absolutely do that. I think that there's probably like an ethical thing there. Ethics, I don't necessarily think a lot of people give a shit about ethics. And I don't think that a lot of people should give a shit about philosophy. People are not consistent. And I think we need to go ahead and pull that Band-Aid off real quick. When we go ahead and say things are good and not good. There are certain people that think that the castration of Ukrainian soldiers by the Wagner Group is a good thing. And I think that there are a lot of us that think that's a bad thing.
Okay, we're going down a big rabbit hole here. I guess I'm just asking. I guess
Yeah.
I'm just asking, like, pragmatically, what is like the approach you think that like people at scale should have if they can all agree that React content is bad?
I think the big shadow hanging over this conversation is that ultimately we need tools, these platforms, to do these things, and it seems like no platform has
When
really
you say
good
do these
tools.
things, what do you mean?
You have the
So-
tool. It's called DMCA.
Yeah, exactly. I think the tools in order. So let's say we say what, React content is not automatically okay. It's up to the person who made the video, right? The person who made the video is the one who gets to decide
You can't
whether or
use
not
DMCA claims.
the problem is.
No. If you DMCA claim, and even if it's a legitimate DMCA claim, I've seen people like I think I've forgotten who the fuck it was, but someone re-uploaded an entire video of somebody else's and was like, "What the fuck are you?" The person who made it was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And DMCA claimed them, and they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't risk people's channel, even if they're uploading your whole content, because DMCA false flags have been so misused that there's now like an ethical question of whether you should be doing that at all."
Would that
I
be
don't-
a Sunday Lab thing?
Can I just please finish my point?
No.
That's the thing I'm trying to get at. For example,
I have
recently,
just little understanding of what you just said. I don't understand what's going on. Okay, so if you DMCA someone, it's frowned upon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like it would affect you as a content creator to DMCA.
It would affect your
claim.
reputation. If
Yeah,
someone
but it can also
re-uploaded your
affect-
content, you think it would affect your reputation negatively? I think everyone would agree that it was a
No,
justified
if you struck them, I
DMCA.
think is what he's saying.
If you give someone a strike,
Yeah. If you tried to take their video down, I think what Beckett's saying, there's a lot of negative attention that comes with that, so it's not a good idea.
because it can take a channel down, and like that's
one
so-
strike is not going to take a channel down, though.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot.
I think my biggest problem with these tools is how inconsistent and bad they are. I don't know if any of you guys followed the Destiny 2 drama where some random Destiny 2 content creator started posing as Bungie and for months was able to take down like any Destiny 2 video. It feels like consistently every time we talk about moderating platforms, whether it's like moderating tweets or moderating violations of like copyright, there is a really bad system in place that constantly is having false positives, false negatives, is difficult to use. You can't ever get a real human being on the line. So I feel like that's the biggest problem. Even if I were to say, and I do believe this, I think if you make a video and someone reacts to it and is doing a pretty lazy job, it's up to you whether or not you want to take that video down, or if you say, no, you know what, guys, it's cool, you can react to my video. But the problem is, you don't really have that choice in the first place if these tools are so archaic and really ineffective in the first place that like it's impossible to consistently actually enforce that.
Yeah,
I agree
think
with
it's
you,
not
but I
the-
feel like it's almost impossible to like just have moderation for that because it would literally take like 100,000 people.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would take, the biggest like
Yeah.
workforce like
I-
recruitment ever conceived in human
I also
history.
think-
And that's the reason why, by the way, these companies have such bad systems without human automation is because they know it's like impossible to try and like actually humanize it. So
Yeah.
they're desperately hoping for like a bot that actually works, but we haven't found one yet.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you had a bot that worked in the first place, right? When it comes down to like copyright that goes ahead and gets filed in a court, the price to go ahead and fight that is so exorbitant that it ultimately edges out smaller creators. If we remember the Ethan drama from years ago, where he was going ahead and fighting for this fair use stuff, how much did it cost him? How much did he have to crowdfund from his audience and everything like that? Even the court systems that exist outside of the internet are not able to go ahead and stop somebody from, like, say, a Walt Disney or some other large megacorp, and having like some smaller creator actually find justice. And that is, again, another.
Okay, but to
symptom
be
of
clear, it's
Yeah.
extremely rare that like even Disney is going to follow through with a lawsuit. Typically, in my experience, as someone who's dealt with a lot of these, like you
Mhm.
get the claim, like it sucks, your video goes down, you file a counter notification.
Yeah.
Usually they wait out the counter notification and then the video goes back up. Usually they just don't respond because a lot of this is done by bots. It's not done by someone at Disney.
Yeah. So,
It's
but
not a
like,
manual claim.
yeah, but so then, like, you have somebody that's literally abusing the copyright system in that same function, and that you would probably, in any realistic notion, be able to file some actual suit if we had a justice system that worked in the first place.
So your allegations that the justice system doesn't work.
I'm saying that, like, copyright is a bandage to a society that has a lot of other issues, and that's kind of like the bigger point that I was trying to come in here with. But I guess if we're just doing React,
What are those other issues, I guess, is just so I can get the scope.
So like
Big
when I was
picture,
talking about
briefly.
Edgar Allan Poe, right? Edgar Allan Poe, probably like one of the most influential writers of, like, you know, the English speaking world of the last several hundred years, right? Dies penniless, even though he was going ahead writing works, you know, getting them published, just not being able to publish them at mass, like other publishers were able to do. And I think that when we look at the origins of copyright, which comes from, I believe, Queen Anne's laws, back in the 1600s or something like that, that is ultimately what this was made to protect against. Was made to go ahead and protect against people that were unable to go ahead and allow having like some autonomy within a system of capital, or, you know, whatever, without having that ability to live within these systems. That's what they were made for, and we have completely lost the ethos of that, which I think is actually a pretty good ethos. But I would actually suggest that that might be something that maybe other systems would be able to more adequately deal with, which is why when we look at copyright counter argumentations, we're often looking at libertarians, anarchists, communists, socialists, and other, you know, anti-state actors ultimately acting for copyright.
If I
Okay.
may,
I kind of regret asking that, but thank you for the
Yeah.
answer.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Well, I think, do we think, because I think that Beckett's right, that this has been a thing, React content in general has been a thing in YouTube for years, and on other streaming platforms for years.
You remember Jinx, right?
This is,
Reply videos, yeah.
yes, this has
Yeah.
just been the meta, if you will. Do you think it's leading us to worse and worse content? Maybe it is simply my age showing, but I find it hard to give a shit about YouTube content. I don't want to see XQC reacting to Hassan, who's reacting to Ethan, who's reacting to XQC, in this like
Crack
chain
open a
of
cold one.
reacts.
Can I
that-
just give a different perspective as well?
Yeah, please,
was it the
please.
Fine Bros who tried to basically trademark React content?
Yeah.
And they had like an entire partnership program of,
Yep.
if you want to do this kind of React content, you have to go through us.
They did do
And
that,
that-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like when the SCP community, they're like, a guy published a book in Russia. He's like, I own this now. It's it seems fucking ridiculous, and it's the
Wick, I
same
get
for-
I get the question you're asking, but I feel like it's just kind of like it doesn't really mean anything. Like there is a lot of good content on YouTube. Like there's a lot of shit, but to be honest, you also exist in a community of people who are streamers,
Sure.
who make shit, who make the bottom of the barrel, which is
Yeah,
like I'm
sure.
streaming right now.
We
I'm
We are making
participating right
bottom
now.
of the barrel content right now. This is what we're
I'm-
doing, right? We're filling
Exactly,
time.
exactly.
I think, yeah.
But
To be honest, I feel
I
like
think-
most content is like bottom of the barrel, and when we look at old content, we're just you don't remember all the trash. From like 30 years ago.
Exactly, and that's the case for like music as well. People say like, oh, music today is like so much shitter than like, you know, the 1980s. It's like you only remember Bon Jovi. There's a lot of shit in the 80s, okay? And that's the case today as well. There's a lot of great original content. Like there's a ton of people making independent documentaries on YouTube, and they're not unsuccessful. It's not like they're suffering at the expense of XQC success. I think that there are people who enjoy watching XQC. There's people who enjoy watching like more high budget creative stuff. And there's people who enjoy both. I enjoy watching Destiny react to videos, and sometimes his reactions are better than others. And I also enjoy watching people like Brandon Buckingham who make like full on, like he's flying around the country, he's documenting weird people, he's doing high budget stuff. It's he's editing it all. It's his own production team, and he's successful as well in his own right. And so it's like, is content getting worse? I think content's overwhelmingly always been shit because the majority of what people enjoy is shit. But that's just kind of subjective and doesn't really matter. Like there's still good content, and it's not like that good content is like getting 1 view and XQC is getting the other million. Like it's not like that.
Yeah, I think the bigger issue than whether or not the content is good or bad, because that's such a hard thing to nail down, we never come to an agreement, is the question of whether or not, people's, I think, like legal right to, their intellectual property is being like substantially harmed, and whether or not there's like an ecosystem that like sort of erodes that, which I do think, particularly in live streaming, is becoming true. I honestly think that, if you ask me, YouTube versus live streaming, which is worse, it feels like, the live streaming is a lot much worse. All the worst examples on YouTube are just cuts of live streams. Like the worst YouTube content, React content, is just like 2 hours of 𝕾𝖎 reacting to, a Jubilee video or something like that. I feel like in the live streaming space in particular, because there is such a demand for content constantly, big streamers are streaming almost every day for, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. You have to fill that time with something, and there's always the incentive to talk a little bit less, react, a little more flatly. And I think as a result, there's just this huge culture of just like letting it slide because we like streamers. I'm a huge Destiny fan. I love Destiny, but oh my god, some of his React content is atrocious. Where he's just like not even at the computer. Just
I guess the question becomes, and I think this is like really important question, is like, what is the appeal of this React content? Is the appeal to like from the viewer's perspective? Is the appeal that they're watching a video and the person like watches Hasan to see the videos he watches? Or is it because they want Hasan to be the one there in the corner? Like, do they see Hasan as like a content compiler that just like gets the best stuff from the internet and puts it together? And is there value in that? Or do they see it as like, I'm watching it with Hasan, so there's a value there? And I think that distinction is important.
I think that distinction, especially with people like Hasan specifically, and this is actually, I think I try.
Well, because to me the question is like, are views being pulled away, right? Like, are is Hasan's success coming at the detriment of someone who makes original stuff?
If I may reframe it, just a small are people who otherwise would watch it on the original content creator's channel instead watching it on Hasan's? Right, so if Hasan
basically
disappeared,
or
with someone,
I think honestly phrasing it in the inverse is better. Like, if Hasan wasn't streaming, would those people then stop watching him and go watch the original content on its own anyway? Would they encounter it naturally? I feel like they probably wouldn't. I feel like these people are people who really like Hasan and like they want to watch him watch something, even as ridiculous and lazy as the content is.
I mean, that's absolutely and obviously true. We watch the creators we like because we like the creators that we like watching. That's just normal, basic, easy to say. I think that there is value when you look at React content through what can I add to this? All right. Like, hypothetically, I'm not going to say Hasan actually has perspective. I think he has dog shit perspectives on like socialism and whatnot. It's just what it is. But that is something that he can apply that perspective to something. So if he's watching somebody do like a re-understanding of like, the civil rights movement or whatever, and like somebody like, or something that comes out from like some neo-Confederate or something, and you offer something as like a contrivance, as something that is against this, saying this is what's wrong here, here, and here, right? That is effectively the same as going and making a YouTube video where you're like going part by part by part through like some movie and whatever. And I think that the best React content, is going to ultimately be, oh, hey, this person has a perspective and I want to use that perspective. That's why when I do it myself, I'm like, all right, let's look at the arguments that they're making, how they're forming them.
Okay, but you're talking about like a section which isn't it isn't the vast majority of React content. And that's the problem. When Hasan reacted to a 5-hour video on Doctor Who and went and made dinner, that wasn't fucking React content. That was putting a fucking video on for his like children.
Yes.
I'd like to
that is absolutely, and I'm not defending that. What I am defending is active engagement and transformative works. If we're going to have to live in this hell world that has copyright, we may as well actually believe in transformative works.
I'd like to bring up an interesting legal precedent. So I'm sure you guys all know 𝕭𝖎𝖙. A few years ago, somebody decided to sue him because he had uploaded a video of hers with like Sorry, what'd you say?
It's the fucking 𝕾𝖍, obviously.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot her fucking name. Okay, so I almost called her Cat Black, which is a different person. Anyway, she decided to sue him for copyright infringement because he had uploaded a short clip of one of her videos and it just like the transformative nature was like questionable. And in court, it was determined that it was transformative because he had a new title, and the title, like, it was not a market replacement. Basically, it was like something. It was if it was determined in court that if you're watching 𝕾𝖍, obviously, and then you're watching 𝕭𝒏 𝖏, you wouldn't watch him as a replacement for her. You're watching his clip because it's like parodying her, it's making fun of her. And the thing that made it parody or making fun of her is that it was a cut clip, so it wasn't the full thing, and because it had the title. The title was like pivotal. And that case was thrown out, and he, I think, countersued after and won. And so the question becomes like, well, let's say you have the video by Vince Vintage, right? Vince Vintage makes a video, and then Hasan titles his reaction, Hasan reacts to the Vince Vintage video. In court, are people going to see it as like, well, it's Hasan reacting. People who are watching are there for Hasan, right? No?
Yeah, I think this is the reason why I actually don't think that distinction you brought up matters as to whether or not, it certainly makes it worse if you're taking views away from the original video, but I don't think it actually matters. I guess the hypothetical I would pose to you, and it was, if I had a stream where we watched movies, just full beginning to end theatrical released movies, and my viewers, they were not going to go out and watch, The Departed from 2004, 20 years ago, but it was on my stream, so they decided to watch it. Does that suddenly make it okay? I think that when we talk about views being taken away, sure, that makes it worse, but I don't think that actually is like gonna suddenly make something that I wouldn't be okay with okay. And I think the other in regards to Hasan specifically, I actually don't know if it's the case that if Hasan didn't watch these videos, none of his viewers would watch anyways. I think the distinction is not if Hasan didn't watch that particular video, but what if Hasan didn't do react content? What if Hasan's streams were daily streams were 3 hours shorter because he cut out react content? I think you would see a significant percentage of his viewer base stop, probably browse YouTube and watch videos like them and have some overlap. The particular video might be different, but I do think there is a sort of active browsing of YouTube to see what's popular today that people don't do because those popular videos on the front page of YouTube and on r/videos on Reddit get reacted to by their favorite streamer.
You might be right. I guess I just don't know, and that's the thing. Like you think that. I'm curious if we could see an experiment where like we saw Asmongold.
How are we gonna conduct that experiment? Just say,
if I could run experiments on Hasan, there would be other things on top of the list.
I think it depends on the content. So let's take fucking 𝕭𝖏. 𝕭𝖏's a really good example because he discovered 𝕭𝖏. 𝕭𝖏 had been making content for like 10 years. He had a huge backlog on his channel. He'd not seen huge amounts of success, but he started like with RPGs. He does RPG and game reviews. 𝕭𝖏 found him and then watched him, reacted to him, and it boosted him. But the content's really similar to 𝕭𝖏's base. So if you're reacting to somebody as a political streamer who does political videos, I think you're going to get overlap there. But the problem is that Twitch poll streamers and streamers generally don't just do that. React content will pull from all kinds of random things. And if you're reacting to something that isn't in your audience bandwidth, they're there for you. They're very unlikely to go and give a bump to that.
I feel like the question would also be, like realistically, is Asmon just reacting to the video and that's it, or is he saying everyone go sub to this guy's channel, go check him out, I love his stuff, support him? Like, because I feel like some streamers do that, and then I feel like XQC probably doesn't.
Yeah, a lot of streamers just cut out the end. They cut out they don't say the name. They don't. Another thing that's like seen as an ethical thing is actually watching the ad in people's videos when they're doing sponsored content, because it's like seen as an additional boost. I think all those things help, and if you're not doing that, it seems a bit more kind of bullshit, really.
Yeah, it's like I agree that those things are shitty, but like again, I go back to like the professional like movie example, and I just feel like these aren't like the most important distinctions. If I watch Black Adam start to finish, don't say anything. At the end, I'm like, guys, shout out Dwayne The Rock Johnson, shout out DC Studios, guys, let's go. It's like, oh no, it's suddenly good. Like I feel like that would still be like pretty.
I guess to me, the question with the movies is like maybe legally it's copyright abuse, but is that something I should give a shit about? Because like if you're just watching a movie and the people who are watching it wouldn't care otherwise. Like, I guess the question is like wouldn't watch it otherwise. Like, the question is like, are you siphoning money away from, these companies? Is that the problem? Are you siphoning money away from
Can I give you an example
whatever studio?
Closer to home then. So
okay, we're pretty close to shoplifting discourse.
You're fairly big. You've got a lot of people who view you. You're doing live streams. You've got a lot of videos. Let's say somebody makes an archive channel for you, which is like pretty common. And they archive all your stuff, and whether you're uploading or whether you're trying to make clips out of things, they go to the archive channel first, and that archive channel, because of its size, gets some kind of monetization. Would you strike that channel?
No, I would claim all the videos though to get all the ad revenue.
W.
So that's what I would do. I wouldn't take it down.
Fair.
I'd be like, you can keep uploading, but I'm gonna take the money. Or I might even message the person and be like, yo, give me 70% and you can keep taking 30, or else I'll strike it down. I might do something like that.
Fair enough. Does it
So
though? And I understand that that's your personal like what you would do, and that's fine. But
I feel like it's just pragmatic. Like for me, like
Yeah.
it's just I think that's the
It-
best approach. Like you can get as mad as you want at React streamers and stuff, but ultimately I think you're probably better off like not starting shit with them than causing a big
well,
trauma
that's
about it.
usually because they're a lot bigger than you, and people it won't go your
Yeah,
way
if
in a
you start
fight usually,
as React
right?
streamers, it would be very different from one of us starting drama, right?
I mean, I think the exposure can help sometimes as well. Probably like I've
Yeah.
noticed like once in a while I'll get a comment like, "Oh, I found you from 𝕵𝖎𝖎 because he reacted," and it's like, "Oh, that's cool." It's not that often, but you know, if 3 people subscribe, like I guess that's good. But also, I recognize I'm in a position where like financially I'm fine on YouTube, and
Well,
if
even
you're
as
if you're
someone,
not doing it full time, you
Sure.
probably would get pissy.
even as someone who's very small, I'm a tiny boy streamer. Like I saw massive gains when people have reacted to me. Destiny's viewed my content, or when other creators have viewed my content. I have seen bumps. I have seen you know, increased viewership, even a couple increased donations, very rarely. And my name does get out there. So I think there is benefit. So my question to you, Flowtrace, right? Like in the sense of the streaming world, right? In the where we are living here, doesn't React content actually make us better, right? Make us
I think, yeah,
better off?
I think I actually generally would agree. I think the distinction is whether or not a person who makes the video has the right to say no. I absolutely agree. Vast majority of cases, you know, if someone reacts to your video, you're better off, you know, not fighting it. But I think it's a separate question from if you decide to fight it, do you have the right? Do you have the right to say, you know what, even though this is against my interests, it's my video, it's
What if
my
I make a
intellectual
video?
property. I
Let-
don't
let
want
me
you to.
ask you
Actually,
this
I'm gonna
one. I
wildly
got
flip
you.
here. Sorry,
I got
Rick.
you. Just
I'm gonna
stop. Let
wildly.
me ask this question though. If I make a video, right, and I end up looking retarded, the stupidest takes, I look like a fool. I maybe say some slurs. I look racist. I look
Yo.
all sorts of things. Really bad.
Crazy
For me.
hypothetical. Would never happen.
Would it be
I
okay?
think you have a right to say no. I think you
even
do.
without my permission, though. Like, but
Yeah, I
isn't
think
that
you
like
have a right- I think you have a
anti-journalistic,
right to
right?
watch
Doesn't
it.
Does that make sense?
Okay, I understand the question now.
Yeah.
I think this.
I
would-
think
this
if it's copyright infringement, you have a right to say no. If it's not, then you don't have a right to say no. And especially like, you know, there have been cases I've seen where like I shit on someone and then they DMCA me, and it's like, well, bro, I literally added to the content. Like I'm calling you an idiot. Like that's the additive nature of it. And I don't even really do React content like someone like XQC does. I avoid it just because I don't want to step on anyone's toes. But I don't really have a problem with people doing that.
I think it gets to the
personally.
nature of what is copyrightable and what is not. Like, if I take a picture of LeBron James out in public, does he have copyright over that? What about the person who designed the art tattoos that are on LeBron James' arms that were captured in my photograph? Like, there's definitely, like, I think, like, weird niche issues that like, present a lot.
I think when you go down that line of reasoning or logic, like it just kind of becomes nebulous. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
if you
yeah,
did want to do that and
exactly.
try to copyright everything, like it just destroys the fabric of the internet. Which also is my next point. I think that like enforcing copyright stuff like at scale and like really encouraging a culture of DMCAing people is probably bad for all content creators, because who's to say that eventually one of these music companies that knows that realizes like, oh, all these people are using my music in their videos and we haven't DMCA'd them because Content ID hasn't gotten good enough to pick them up. Or what if we get a culture where movie reviewers or let's say Let's Players, right, who I think technically probably aren't necessarily fair use. Let's say one of these game companies come in and they're like, hey, let's claim Markiplier and PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye and decide to like that would ruin the internet.
For a long time, Nintendo was very litigious about that, like back in like the 2016, 2017
They
days.
still
People
are
didn't
now and
about
then.
certain things. Yeah. They've
So
gotten
it's like,
better.
so the question is like,
companies are big on
is
that.
encouraging this conversation detrimental to the fabric of the internet as a whole, because it will it will reduce even the actually transformative stuff.
But this comes back to the DMCA thing, because like when we look at, I don't know, people like King Cobra, like Foodie Beauty for the mukbang community, like Wings of Redemption. These are all people whose kind of like the communities around them, like that shit on them, are far bigger than their own communities now. So
yeah, that must feel like shit. That must feel like shit.
it must be painful. But like I've seen that happen. Actually, I had that with a smaller creator recently. He'd released a video. He's getting shit on an awful lot, and I was like, you do realize that your video has 160 views on it, but the streams reacting to you are in the thousands, and nobody's coming to watch your channel. And like the reason like DMCA and like striking people is such like a dirty thing is like it was weaponized really early on. Like if you wanted something down, if you wanted someone to stop talking about you, you fucking DM'd. You got this was the whole thing with like Zoe Quinn, right? Like taking down Mundane Matt, and Foodie Beauty right now I think is trying to get like content of hers taken down. Because you know, especially with the whole kind of like Cryax thing that's going on and the harassment she's getting from that community. So I think there's a difference there between React content and what might be very loosely like a bit more journalistic, because we wouldn't say, you know, if somebody's got footage that they've put up that's criminal and a news channel reacts to it and like shows that content, then we'd understand that that's kind of protected in some sort of public nature. Which sounds a bit high-minded for lolcows, but like again, it's true. It's true, right?
It's the same principle. Yeah. It's like if someone does something stupid, do you have a right to talk about it, even if they're not profiting from it? Like I feel like yes.
Yeah, and in some cases, I believe there are.
They don't want you to talk about it, even if they tell you no. Don't talk about this. You can be like, "Fuck you." No, you said it in public.
Because at that point, it's not a copyright issue. Even if they try to enforce it that way, it's not a copyright issue. It's an issue of they don't want to be shit on.
Yeah, I think there is a difference between big companies and content creators. I know that sounds weird, but I think there's a difference between what we put out on essentially what is a social media site with very little oversight. The regulation is all a bit weird. We're putting content out on a platform as opposed to working for a company making something as part of an unpaid employment. I think there's a difference there, and I think there's this profit scale margin because again, like. It's quite unlikely you're going to get a case where somebody's reacting to, I don't know, a fucking soap opera episode because there's something newsworthy in it. That seems like a rarity.
I think what would be nice is, and this is just me dreaming, so I don't even care what I'm about to say, but it would be nice if there was some kind of directory that you could put YouTube videos in for reacting, and then someone like XQC could pay like an $100 license to react to it on stream. Yeah, and that way, like, you know, I directly get money from it, and then he also gets to react to it, and then there's a legal binding agreement there.
Yeah, that reminds me of it wasn't maybe the best idea. It wasn't maybe the best implementation of this kind of idea of having like a database of stuff set out in advance. But does anybody remember way back in the day when Facebook had this program where you could upload nude photos you had? They would create a hash of that nude photo. Then they said they would delete it, and that way they could block your nude photos from being uploaded because they would check any uploaded images against the database of those hashes. Yeah, I got
a program to do the same thing. Send me your nudes. We'll take care of it. Right? Like I'll make sure.
Is that real? Is that a real thing they did? That's really interesting.
Yes. Yeah. It's really interesting. That's
particularly funny with the quote from there's this old quote from Mark where he says something to the effect of like, he's like, I can't believe these people trust me with their info. They're so stupid. Like something like that.
It's a cool idea. The particular implementation was not good, but I actually agree. I think there's a lot of potential for something like that. Something where you could mark videos. And man, it feels like there is like, would this really be that hard? For on Twitch, for you to in advance, like click a little button and it puts a tag on it that says this is totally React, and then Twitch could like open it up and be like, hey, here are all the videos that were or stream VODs that are marked okay to react to, and you can even then sort by Twitch categories. Oh, let me react to League of Legends streams. Let me react to.
It would be advantageous monetarily as well, because then the copyright holder gets money. Imagine the amount of money that these companies would make if instead of just claiming re-uploads of the song, you could pay them a license.
Yep.
You know, for that. It'd be a lot.
It's depending on the price point, right? Like I know that a lot of this kind of
it adds up though.
React to it will help the big streamers, but I think if you were trying to come up as a React content guy, like if you're just starting streaming, are you really going to pay $100 to react to someone's video? Right?
That's fair. That's true.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I guess if you're just starting streaming, get fucked because the game's over. Okay.
That's
you had to get in early.
Argument, right?
It's over.
Part of the argument is that the
actually, I think that's still really true, right? Like unless you got in early, it's pretty hard to.
I think you can. I think you just have to. I think people these days aren't willing to know life it. Like when you guys stream, how long do you stream on average? Like 3-4 hours.
3 hours max, probably.
Yeah. So Hassan and like XQC, like when they were starting out, they were streaming every day for 12 hours, like going insane, doing Adderall, doing like who knows what the fuck they were doing. And just like the thing is, it is easy to call it like easy, but like the machine they built did take a while of just fucking no lifing everything, which is another conversation, but there is like work that goes into it.
I think
It's
there
not hard.
is the point that Wick brought up. I do think raises an interesting like danger potentially, which is that if you make systems for it very easy for people to enforce, their claims for copyright, that could lead to them claiming videos that we would say don't have that they don't have any authority over. Something that is fully transformative and the original content creator should have no claim over whatsoever. You can imagine a world in which someone puts out a video, let's say 𝕵𝖎𝖎 299 𝕵𝖎 puts out a video and he marks it as, yeah, you can react to this, and then my rev share split's going to be 30/70, and then someone goes and creates a video critiquing 𝕵𝖎𝖎's new video, and it's fully transformative, uses very little of the original video, and we would say 𝕵𝖎𝖎 should have no claim, but then the system says, oh, you're using this system, let's automatically implement that 30/70 split.
There are other issues
with a channel called Business Casual. Basically, it's a
yeah.
guy, long history, but he was essentially starting to like copyright claim people and try and take their channels down, and his goal was actually to take them to court and like tie them up in legal fees. He's just highly malicious.
Patent trolling is a huge thing in the US for this reason.
But he was claiming off people for like he claimed one fairly large YouTuber, which is how a lot of this got exposed. But he claimed a 3 seconds of footage of a publicly available image that he didn't even own, and managed to nearly get this guy's channel taken down.
Yeah, he was even claiming like editing assets that he didn't create. It was just it was like a public picture, and he was claiming like because the guy used the same public picture as him to make it graphic, and that's like bad. That Business Casual guy's a fucking evil nerd, by the way. That guy needs to be fucking bottom of a well or something. He needs to be
only found it
fighting
recently.
Conor McGregor.
Like, what the fuck is this? It's wild.
The problem with that is like I think at a legislative level you probably need some kind of change, because the strike system was implemented so that YouTube could protect themselves from like Viacom taking all of their money, which Viacom did try to do.
Well,
I think it would have bankrupted YouTube.
Yeah, that's the argument against copyright in general, right? Is that it's used by the bigger fish to make sure that the little fish can't get any traction. Well, they do this.
Like how many times has Disney renewed the Mickey Mouse copyright?
Yeah, that's such
like they changed the law. That's insane.
Yeah.
That actually did expire, I believe, a couple years back.
True, but like patent law is the same way, right? Like there's this thing where a lot of people will just like blanket patent a bunch of things, right, with no intention of ever using the patent or developing the patent. And they simply wait and watch for anyone to use anything that might remotely be related to that patent. And then they'll go in and they'll try to go. So the question is, right, do these laws that are meant to protect people actually hurt content creators? Rezzy, and you probably have some thoughts on this, and I want to get you back in the conversation here. Are they, like, is the copyrights making it harder for us to actually make content?
I mean, yeah, it's copyright stifles all parts of society, but I don't know if we're talking about copyrights. So it's like, I mean, we can go at like what again the original ethos of it is, which is kind of what.
To be clear, I think copyright can stifle it, but I think that stuff in copyright, like fair use doctrine, is like the whole reason why everything on YouTube exists. If that protection didn't exist, then nothing on YouTube would be around right now, if that precedent wasn't set. So like I feel like copyright as a whole doesn't need to be like abolished. Like there are good intentions behind it. There are good parts of it. I feel like the way it's executed now with these big companies is archaic and dumb, but I don't know. I guess I get what you're saying. I guess I need to want to go more in depth, but I did mean to cut you off, but I also felt like
no, it's okay. I'm used to it now. So
okay.
Come on, Rez. Yeah, it'll be fine. Go ahead,
Pattern of abuse.
Yeah, there are a lot of problems, but I don't know. We're always going to be more aware of the problems with our current system than with like a hypothetical one. And I do kind of worry that there are a lot of problems with copyright and patent law, how it's operated in the US right now. But man, in trying to imagine what a world would look like without any of that at all, that's really kind of wild to me. Like you got to wonder how many like businesses based on like creative IPs like would just never have happened in the first place. If it was just, open season for any time anyone comes up with a good idea, anyone can take that idea and use it infinitely. That seems like it'd be a really rough world for creators.
I agree.
I wonder. I do. I agree with you that there is something like if I write a song or put out music or put out some sort of creative content where I actually put work and effort into it, and then I see someone just take that wholesale and then present it as their own, it does give me pause. It does make me wonder, oh, that seems kind of icky. That seems gross to do.
But at that point, it kind of seems like an issue of like the ego, like just being like, I made this art, so it's mine. And it's like, I feel like when you create stuff,
that
like
matters.
it matters, but I feel like to an extent, like I found it's useful to drop that in my own life as a content creator. Like I feel like, I don't know, if there's like extreme monetary gains being stolen from you like that, like yeah, that makes sense. But if someone does something better than you and like it just blows up and like they just had to make a little tweak that you hadn't made that like you didn't realize was needed for success, like I think you may have to accept that.
What do the rest of us think here?
I think it's difficult because so my mum was an author. I'm in receipt of royalties now. She's passed. I never made those works, but I still benefit from them, right? Like when we're looking at the point of copyright and even patents was designed to really be the lifetime of the creator. That was the original time scaling. And when you're looking at the idea of taking something and making
that's not true. That is fundamentally not true. It was 14 years renewal for 14 years. All right, it was 14 years under Queen Anne's rules originally. Lifetime of the creator was added in the 1930s.
Okay, no, fair enough. Fair enough.
Walt Disney added that, actually, right? That was Disney.
No, it was not Walt Disney.
No, it was, but I remember it being Lifetime of the Creator before Disney. That's so okay. No, fair enough. Anyway, but fuck my train of thought. But when we're looking at people like tweaking things, this is something we see a lot in other industries. So this happened with the Dan Brown book, where it's like some like religious. I forgot the fucking name of it. Da Vinci Code. There we go. It basically rips wholesale from another author's
Holy
works.
Blood, Holy Cross, yeah.
Yeah, and like it was massively more successful. And you're like, okay, yeah, sure, like it tweaked it, but there are ideas and concepts there that were original that then get
I guess that's fair. I mean, I guess they deserve some portion of the proceeds for sure. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, this happened to my mum actually when she was writing one of her novels. There was actually like a leak came out of one of her manuscripts, and another publishing house tried to basically publish the same story as her beforehand because they realized it would be a popular story. Yeah, like shit like that. Yeah, I guess that's right. Scummy.
I didn't conceive that.
And there's also an issue with fan fiction that happens a lot. I mean, like we can look at 50 Shades of Grey. That was Twilight fan fiction originally, right? And there is some question to be had. If someone takes a original world or original concept that you have, original character that you create, and then takes that and just puts it in their own thing and then sells it, it feels weird, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
it just,
that's true.
It bothers me. I don't know.
You're right.
It bothers me.
It's funny because, like, for example, like merchandise, merchandising, that's not something you can do, but it absolutely doesn't compete with the original market. If I go make Harry Potter toys, that's not stopping anyone from going and getting Harry Potter movies. So I do feel like there is some sort of like.
But you're still making money off of their intellectual property, and your toy would not succeed without their thing.
Yeah, but I feel like there is some sort of like, I don't know, the thing that makes this so hard is because there isn't a tangible thing for an idea, right? If I take, your bathtub, it doesn't matter if I make money with it. I took your bathtub, you don't have it anymore. But by the nature of ideas, not being a tangible thing, it becomes really messy to try and sort out like the exact lines and boundaries of like where this stuff is. Like, I don't think we'll ever have like an exact line for any of this stuff.
Would React streamers, right? Would the React streamers be as successful as they are without the content to react to, without the fuel, if you will? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, it depends because like the fuel as a whole, like would they be successful without the internet at large? No. With the specific content, yes.
And like, does that mean that like if I write my book using like a word processor, does that word processor have like some sort of claim? Because like you could have never made your book without our word processor. Like, does the inventor of the typewriter?
Of course not.
Yeah, it becomes really.
This is a problem that's happening with Unity right now, where they're trying to overcharge.
Oh
people
yeah,
for
that's
a great
games. Point.
Yeah. Which is a big issue. And
sorry. No, I was good.
I was just going to say, without getting into details, my understanding is they've implemented a really archaic model in which they charge people per install of a game instead of per sale or anything like that, which means technically there's going to be a loophole which I don't think they even plan to fix. You can just download a game basically and then uninstall it and download it again and charge them money. And on top of that, the price they're charging is exorbitant. And this is not a standard that other game engine creators, I think, enforce at all. So
I'm not
it's
too
very.
familiar with the Unity stuff. Do we know why they implemented that? Like what?
They just want more money.
Oh, it's just a
I think
Yeah,
that's
because
it.
I've
Yeah.
heard conspiracy theories that actually it's to kneecap the indie market. So that was a fucking 4chan conspiracy theory. But when you look at it, I can kind of see that, because on the other side, like, you actually do get this in the business world. So this happened to a lot of charities a few years ago. Basically, they kept getting patents struck, just random fucking charities, by this hedge fund, and they were patent struck for owning a printer, because the patent holders argued that the fact that they were using a printer and they held the patent for how printers worked means that they had to pay them money. Now, that would never fucking hold up in court. But if you're a charity or small business, you're not going to fight it in court. You're just going to pay the money. So this entire hedge fund was just making bank off basically sending legal threats for a useless patent to like small businesses and charities. So you do get crazy shit like that.
And the problem is, like even on YouTube, this happens where I'm sure you guys have heard of 𝕾𝖍𝖎𝖙𝖘𝖍𝖔𝖜. He just has all this content in the content ID system to automatically claim anyone who uses even 1 second of it. And I think a lot of people are afraid to give him their personal information, or they're afraid to counter it at the risk of a lawsuit, because he doesn't have money, but he has more money than probably the average small YouTuber. So I think he probably at some months has probably made thousands of dollars a month off of just claiming content that he has no right to claim.
Yeah, or do you guys know about the phenomenon of old viral videos that are uploaded by a person? It's not a content creator; it's just a person who uploads a video, becomes viral. These are videos that still get thousands of views every month. People will engage in efforts to copyright claim that video because the account it was uploaded on was just like some random person's YouTube from like 5 years ago. They're not actively monitoring it, so they won't contest the claim. I remember there was a guy who, the very famous CSGO, or technically CS 1.6, I think, video of getting stuck in the door. There's a guy who went onto Spotify, uploaded a song to Spotify that had pieces of the audio of that video as part of the song onto Spotify. He uploaded the song to Spotify in 2020, but he told Spotify, "Oh no, this song's from 1980s, bro. This is a classic 1990s song I made back in the day." Then went to YouTube and said, "This video, CSGO Stuck in the Door, has my song in it from 1990, which is before this video was uploaded. I want that ad revenue."
That guy's an evil genius, dude.
Yeah. and because the guy
That's like
who
Dr.
made the original
Doofenshmirtz.
video,
Holy
and
shit.
because the guy who made the original video for the CSGO getting stuck in the door, he's not watching that YouTube account. He might not even have it anymore. It totally went through, and there's tons of instances of stuff like this, of old viral videos that random people record on their phones and upload on their personal YouTube that get copyright claimed in exactly this way.
Damn. I gotta start doing that. Holy
I'm taking
shit. I'm gonna do that to
notes.
WhickTV.
I need some money. I need to make a
Someone's
little
just like,
bit of-
"Oh, revenue stream."
Exactly.
Holy shit. All your channels are going down.
It's wild to me. It's wild to me, and I think that it's hard because of the system is so. It's like the ocean that we're all swimming in. So even changing it at all feels insurmountable. But I don't know. Man, it's tough out there for the little guys. I know it's always been tough, but I worry that this is simply just kind of we are missing out on content that we could be having because of these rules, because of these.
But this is also how things have changed over time. Like let's take monetization as a whole. For a long time, that monetization itself was kind of a dirty word on the internet. Like it was quite rare. I think Shane, whatever the fuck his name is it Dawson? Shane Dawson was one of the first people to become a partner and get monetized.
It was kind of seen as like a scummy thing. It was like, oh, you want to make money off it? It's like, well, you put a lot of time into it, obviously. But back then, it was just like the internet wasn't nearly as mainstream. It was just like funny videos, People didn't really get that.
Yeah, and I don't know. People who were making political content or content that was meant to be like a very social media-y of getting a message out or saying something. I remember big controversies in communities where people started monetizing that content and it was seen as less pure, or they were just doing it for the money. And there were claims that made the content worse because it wasn't seen as a job. I mean, hobbyists still exist, but that's now flipped. It's a bit of a dirty word. People don't like being called a hobbyist streamer, which is
they want to be taken
ridiculous.
seriously, right?
Yeah, but it's also still like I think fucking ridiculous. I have a day job. This is my hobby. I do it because it's fun, not because it's my job. I think there is a difference between the content creators who are doing this professionally and it's their full income, but I don't think there's a difference in value. People who make like content on the side still put out really good things. There's a lot of passion projects. You see this from like animation students quite a lot. A lot of animation YouTubers like this. It's their end of year project. Um, but it's not necessarily for the money. And I think that's changed over time. Whereas again, a big media company, it's all about that profit. And I think we're still in the fairly early days of this. I don't know if YouTube's going to survive in the long haul. Twitch is in trouble. Let's be clear about that.
I think
Is
YouTube
it?
will. I think Twitch is fucked though. Yeah, and I'm glad they can burn, bro. Fuck them.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
They should all be homeless.
I confess, I don't have my ears to the ground on which companies are surviving, which companies are struggling. But I've heard this before that Twitch is on its way out. Why do we say this? I'm just curious. Why do people say?
I mean, I've got friends who work at corporate Amazon. That's why I say it.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, you got the.
I think
To me, it's obvious.
There.
To me, it's obvious because you don't even have to get banned to want to leave anymore. Now, big streamers are actively leaving. Like 𝕾𝖍𝖎 chose to leave Twitch. He chose to leave. And Myth left Twitch, 𝕬𝖎𝖙 left Twitch. A lot of streamers see like Twitch is a thing of the past. Like we don't want to be here anymore.
I think there's like two phenomenon going on. The first is that like Twitch was basically the only platform for live streaming for a long time, like well into like 2016, 2017. Like YouTube live streaming was still this weird thing. So in that sense, any change, any competition is a decline for Twitch. But I think there's this other thing going on, which is like, man, it is really hard to look at the history of like Twitch and live streaming and stuff and not just come to the conclusion that this company does not know what the fuck it's doing and like really lucked out by being the first person there. There is so much animosity from just like a litany of like, there's just like a list of 1,000 things that if you've been a Twitch fan for, a Twitch viewer for, 6, 7, 8 years, you have so many dumb, stupid things that Twitch has done that you hate. And in that sense, I think people are really looking for an alternative. People who have been scorned by Twitch professionally, people like Destiny or some of these other big streamers that felt underappreciated, or just viewers who just got so tired of frankly all the bullshit that went on in Twitch that was just dumb and stupid and got in the way of like actually watching content you enjoyed. I think in that sense, there's a lot of animosity against Twitch, and people are really cheering for its downfall.
There is animosity. I also think Twitch feels like it feels old, and the reason why is because they have a policy of banning a lot of, you would say probably toxic content, but at the end of the day, a lot of content genres when they start out are somewhat toxic. Like someone like 𝕬𝖎𝖙, they banned him for a controversy that wasn't even within his control. They banned him for being swatted, right? They banned him for being swatted by a viewer. He didn't swat himself. He was banned for being swatted. And so they have a habit of just banning people who don't break the law, but just have like kind of crazy fan bases. And I think as a result of them trying to avoid liability or maybe responsibility, or maybe it's just people at the company who personally don't like these people and like what they represent. I think they've done a job of kind of feeling like old man Twitch, and Rumble and Kick and even YouTube feel like newer and fresher and like there's like cutting edge stuff there.
Better with this though? I hear stories about people getting their channels taken down all the time, right? They will be covering something about vaccines and mocking it and making fun of it, and they'll get hit just for having a clip of something up, right?
YouTube's problems come from just the platform being so big that it's tough to moderate, and so there's a lot of mishaps. Twitch's problems come from the people who work there being spiteful towards streamers and being like, not literally in bed, but like having preferential treatment towards certain streamers. Their problem also comes from being like politically, I think, motivated in one way, and being, I think, very sensitive to quote unquote like cancel culture or Twitter stuff. YouTube waits until the very last moment to ban anyone. Twitch will departner Destiny because a tweet gets 100,000 likes.
Yeah, I think there was the really big difference. I think Tom hit the nail on the head there. Is that with Twitch? Man, I think even still to this day, they do a lot of manual moderation, which is funny. Normally, what everyone complains about is not being able to get to a human, but the humans in question that you get in front of at Twitch have had some ludicrous decisions over the years. I remember back in the heyday of like LSF, 2017 to 2021, there was just, it felt like every month someone got banned for some ridiculous clip. I remember 𝕬𝖎𝖙 got banned for saying idiots because if you closed your eyes and really, really listened, you could kind of hear the N-word. It felt like the manual actions being taken by Twitch moderators were just so beyond the pale in a way that felt a lot more angering than just getting hit by like an AI bot that doesn't know the difference between talking about nudity and actually having nudity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. What's
and
the
I
big
think it's
up and comer? Is
also,
Kick gonna save us from all this? Right? Like I know people talk about
I
Kick
think
all the
it's
time.
probably too early to say if any of
Yeah.
these platforms will last long term, but I think it's clear that Twitch isn't going to survive, whatever the case is.
I don't know if
I
Twitch
think a
will.
lot of it's to do with legislation as well. Like a lot of YouTube's actions are to do with legislative pressure, and that's becoming more
Can you
and
give us
more.
an example of that, please?
Oh yeah, sure. So YouTube got there was a big EU bill a couple of years ago. I think it was during my masters actually. So I was kind of I think I wrote about it a little bit. But the EU basically said like if you've got content that's like criminal or like child pornography or like particularly against these, I think also terror got involved there as well, which I think is why I was writing about it. Basically, you have 24 hours to remove it. You have 24 hours to moderate and remove it, and that's it. And the platforms went, well, we can't do that. That's fucking ridiculous. And that led to a lot of the automatic takedown stuff. So they were like, okay, well, if it's reported, we'll take it down. And this is why a lot of stuff gets like auto removed. And it's got better with the algorithms and bots and everything else. But yeah, a lot of that was to do with legal pressures. And we're seeing that now with the Russell Brand stuff. And I don't want to comment on the accusations themselves because I've got no fucking idea. But at the same time, one of our MPs just wrote a fuck ton of letters to people like Rumble and YouTube and like Twitter and being like, hey, are you demonetizing Russell Brand because we're concerned about his treatment towards victims? He hasn't
Yeah,
been
that's
convicted of
ridiculous.
anything. It's like if I turned around and mocked up an email and said, hey, I've got evidence that Wick's an abuser and Twitch took you down off some random shit. Like
Never
that's
If I
take
the
give
it
anyone
down.
ideas.
Too big to fail. That is troubling, right? Like this idea that the government, even something as silly as the British government, can get involved in like YouTube and other actual like content creation, and simply the accusation, credible or incredible as they may be, can be enough to, if you get enough pressure against you, that they'll be able to silence you to get you taken off. It also feeds into the oppressor narrative that they have. If you're telling everyone, hey, these people were trying to take me down, and then you have a letter where they're actually trying to take you down, I mean, even if you've done some shitty things, it does give you more credibility than I think you would have, I guess. But what recourse does YouTube have for that? Like, should they just say fuck off, right? What do we think?
I think the problem is that YouTube feel, and most social media companies feel like they're between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, they have these very successful products that are massively popular, huge exploding growth. On the other hand, people really have problems with some of the ways in which these operate, and these platforms, as we see from their moderation tools, don't really have good ways to like deal with like problems on their platform without like just bringing the hammer down. I remember back in.
I
Does
actually
anyone?
disagree with.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I think the problem is these aren't massively successful platforms. They run at a loss most of the time.
Yeah, I
YouTube's
that's
had
what you
this
mean by
problem for
success. Yeah.
ages. They like again, Amazon holds on to Twitch not because Twitch streaming is popular, but because Twitch owns the patents behind a lot of the live streaming stuff. So other services have to pay for them. So like to even again, a lot of this is like property ownership. So they're prepared to run at a loss because they're prepared to pay for that other thing that they get. And YouTube's a lot like that for Google. They're like, well, this is something we own and can have, and no one else can have it. But it doesn't necessarily need to make a profit. But on the other side, they don't want to spend too much money on it because that would be even more of a loss. So it's some regards almost the bare minimum.
Yeah, I think I agree they're not profitable. I think in the sense of successful in terms of growing and having lots of users. I think the problem with these companies is that on the one hand, they don't have really good tools to try and deal with lots of the problems people have. I think the overwhelming perception is that these platforms are very left leaning, and I absolutely agree with that. But it's funny if you listen to like resist lib liberal boomer circles, they hate Facebook because they think it's a breeding ground for Alex Jones. They can't believe that it took Twitter all the way until January 6th to ban Donald Trump, that he should have been banned way earlier. And there's this huge belief on both sides of the political aisle that these companies aren't doing enough or are doing things wrongly, and the government needs to get involved. So I think when you look at, like, for example, when like the TikTok guy went in front of like Congress for his hearing, or whenever, you know, Mark Zuckerberg or any of these big social media CEOs go in front of companies, they're just trying to like placate both sides and balance out, you know, the conservatives who think they're being shadow banned and oppressed, and the liberals who think, you know, these places are breeding chambers for Alex Jones and Russell Brands. And the reality is they don't have really good tools to address either side's concern, because their bots are still stuck on distinguishing talks about nudity with actual nudity. Back in 2016, I remember when Twitter had a huge problem trying to keep ISIS recruitment off. And like, say what we will about Jack Dorsey, I don't think he's pro-ISIS. And Twitter still had this huge problem for months where like ISIS accounts would pop up, get 100,000 followers, and it would take weeks for them to go down, even though people were like adding Twitter like, hello, this is an ISIS account. So like, I just think these companies are desperately running around trying to like put out fires, and they're really not equipped for it. That's like the only way to understand their behavior.
Yeah, I agree. True.
Yeah.
It's also just
Yeah.
like the
Going
forest is so big, right?
Yep.
If you want to talk about putting out fires, I mean, I don't think there's ever been a platform as big as YouTube, like, or even just a system as big as YouTube, right?
Yep.
On like this scale, like it's bigger than any government. It transcends so many people.
Yeah, I think like Facebook's user acquisition, like an internal document, like is actively looking at like, okay, have we reached like all the people on the planet that can be reached that like have electricity? Like these are like actual problems they're having to start to like consider now.
Yeah, and YouTube's so big that like the biggest YouTuber, Mr. has channels in Brazilian and Portuguese and every language, and he hires voice actors to act over him because of how big it is. So even that like doesn't fully grasp the scale of how big YouTube is. So I understand the moderation issues, and I'm, as someone who suffers from their stuff and has had my business hurt by YouTube's poor moderation, like it is fucking frustrating. But at the same time, none of what I do would be possible without YouTube. You know, I don't know where I'd be. So I get the frustration, and like in a month when they strike me, I will be on Twitter just tweeting hashtag pedotube. But at the same time, like I understand, like in my, when I'm calm and collected and I'm like thinking rationally, like I understand why it is the way it is. And I don't think it could be any other way, almost.
Fair enough.
Unfortunately,
Fair enough.
unfortunately, like practically, I think it's almost as perfect as it could be, which sucks.
Do you really believe that this is the best we're gonna get?
Maybe. I mean,
I hope you're wrong.
AI
I gotta be real with you.
I hope I'm wrong
AI.
too, but I think I'm right, because I mean, really, like nothing has pushed them to change, really. Like systemically, like nothing has changed that much. And as far as hiring people to manage this, like you could hire 100,000 people. That probably wouldn't be enough to like fix content moderation. Like there need so many people. And you also need to educate those people on like TOS, and you need to account for cultural differences. You need to account for like it's a human moderator, and like that, like there's problems with people too. Like there's not just problems with bots, there's problems with the people at these companies, because people have their own bias and preferences, and what they think maybe, you know, subjectively falls under violating TOS may not. So yeah, I think it's complicated.
Complicated. What about you, Beckett? Is this best we're gonna get? Can we do better? How do you fix YouTube?
I don't think it's the best we're gonna get. I think the long-term thing is probably that fuck. Saying like, okay, YouTube's going to last, it's really hard to tell, because people would have said that about Facebook. People would have said that about Twitter, and Twitter's fucked. Like only boomers use Facebook, and like it's why they're like acquiring other businesses and other like platforms like Instagram over time, and WhatsApp, and expanding their portfolio. And things like Meta, like Zuckerberg isn't pushing Meta because he really thinks it's going to work. He wants tech behind it. I think in the long term, I think much like movie, TV, and radio, those things move to much more control over a longer period of time. I think we'll probably see the same for social media, generally speaking. Like this is an interesting thing about journalism. Like lots of people look at journalism and go, well, it's always been this thing that looks like a big, massive way to get information out. But that's not true. Journalism started off like basically very local. Journalists were not seen as middle class, they were seen as working class. And it's only when they started to make money and sent their kids to school and their kids became journalists, and it became a much more respectable profession. Right now, being a streamer, being a YouTuber, no matter how big you are, if you go out into the real world, it's not seen as impressive. It's not seen as something that's like taken super seriously in like big media circles, because there've been so many failures, like again Shane Dawson's movie career. like PewDiePie. It's
Mhm.
just not taken seriously. But that'll change. That will change over time. Traditional media won't last in the same way that, you'll still have television, but in the same way, we listen to our radio in the car. I think TV will turn into like, I don't know, some extension thing, or channels will be seen in a
The
particular
Fred
way. It's very
movie
different.
featuring John Cena, dude. That was like reverse 9/11
Oh
for
my
8-year-old
god,
me.
yeah. Oh my god.
Reverse 9/11. Okay, I don't even
Yeah,
know
it was
what
the
that
best
means.
day. It was the best day ever. It was like,
Okay.
let's go.
But yeah, I think it will get better, but I think it will get more controlled, and I think the barrier to entry will be much higher.
What do you think, Mr. Flowtrace there? What's your solution? Social media.
I think there's a lot of problems with technology in the modern era that stand out because they're new, but it's also easy to underappreciate all the old problems that don't exist anymore. For as much as we talk about like, oh, there's all these problems trying to make content now and come up, this is probably like the best point in the history of the human race to like be able to be successful as a content creator. There's like almost no middlemen. You can go directly to your audience. You can get direct audience funding through Patreon and a billion other different things. There's all these
There's no
different
like
platforms you can go
gatekeeping.
to.
Like you can pretty
Yeah,
much be
the
anyone and
algorithm
make
lets you
stuff.
blow up more now faster than anyone before. People talk about like, oh, big tech, but like TikTok was like nothing 5 years ago, and now it's probably the biggest social media platform. Kai Cenat, Aiden Ross, these people are very new to the streaming scene and are already some of, if not the biggest streamers. So there's a lot of problems, and to be honest, I don't have very good solutions for the problems you're bringing up, but it's just important to remember, like, there's also a lot of good stuff going on. There are reasons to be hopeful. There are reasons to be glad that content creation has come so far now as opposed to before.
There's also value in the discussion, if not
Yeah, that too.
for jerking ourselves
you-
off. Like
You don't come up with solutions by, pretending the problem doesn't exist,
yeah, true.
Rezzy,
True.
what do you think? Are you hopeful for the future? Are you black-pilled?
Yeah, I think China's going to take it over. If you disagree with
Maybe
people
chilling.
or you try to have original thoughts, you're going to get executed, and I think that's fucking based.
Let's go.
Is that really what you I assume that's not what you really think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think that. I don't really think
Okay.
there
You
is
never
gonna
know with
be-
these like Destiny community people. You just never know sometimes.
Yeah, big DGG orbiter Rezzy.
Yeah, no, well known for it.
I don't know about DGG orbiter, but I guess I just mean this broader like political like
Pushball.
you guys are all politics people, I assume, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you?
Okay.
Well,
I
I
guess
don't
you just
know. Is
never
Rezzy
know
a
who you're gonna
politics
encounter.
person? I don't know if Rezzy's a witch.
Destiny is a politics person. He's certainly not.
I literally
What do
can't
we-
answer
Something
a single
else.
Do we want to let
question.
Rezzy
I-
say
Yeah,
what it is?
Rezzy, what are you?
Yeah,
Like,
Rezzy,
literally-
what are you?
actually,
I'm very sorry.
I'm
I'm very
literally
sorry.
clocked out. I'm done. I'm tilted. It's fine. I get it.
Why are you
can't
angry?
No, I'm angry because like you're literally asking me to do these things, and it's like, do you really think that? It's like, yeah, dude. Like I'm kind of clocked out because every time I try to fucking answer something, I can't. So that's fine. But like, I don't know. I think we've moved.
You just gotta be an alpha.
Like we've moved past all. Yeah, you could be an alpha, or like you can like it's a small panel. I like to try to have conversations, but if I try to talk about copyright, that's like something that's going to make you regret talking to me. So I don't really want to bother with
Well,
that.
sometimes you just say boring things. I'm sorry. I was.
Yeah,
a dick.
I know. I
I'm
know that
sorry.
it's boring. I know it's boring.
Sometimes you say
It's like
boring
I was
things.
literally,
Sorry,
I was literally told this was a debate about copyright and shit like that. I was like gonna try to go ahead and try to make like a narco-socialist bullshit, do like a politics thing, but generally no. I'm a variety streamer. I play video games and shit too. But like yeah, so like no. I don't think things are going to get better. I think at the very least, you're going to see more of the West and the East both try to assert control over content creation and what people are saying. We're seeing this constantly with the way that we see these platforms moving politically. And yeah, I think that's something you just kind of have to accept. And because that's where it's going. That's what we gave up because of 9/11. And yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never know where these things are actually gonna go. I'm sorry, Rezzy, if If you feel like I set you up to fail here, I apologize.
No, I don't think you set me up to fail. I just think that I came here to talk about copyright, and everybody wants to have the same Destiny rerun conversation about fucking React content.
How dare you?
And like, I'm
Oh,
fucking
shots
tired.
fired.
So like, yeah,
Shots
like
fired.
like that's the thing. We can talk about React content till the fucking day comes in. We can talk about even modern media taking away from things. We can talk about the fact that yes, there are problems of like entry for smaller creators and the way that we abuse our legal systems, the way we abuse our economic systems, and how copyright has given us like some tacit endorsement by the long arm of the law. But that's boring, and I don't want to be boring on your panels. So I respect you as a creator, and I want you to make money.
Boring,
Rick.
Rezzy.
So,
I
like,
bought you,
don't want-
invited
I
you
don't-
on.
It is boring.
Come on,
okay,
Rezzy.
it is. That's what debates are. They're
Rezzy.
boring.
I invited
Gangnam
you
Style.
on for your perspective.
Like legitimately though, like debates are actually boring if like you're not covering the one fucking thing that everybody's familiar with, because we're all familiar with React content, and we can go ahead and we can say, oh, XQC just sits there, eats some Chinese food, and fucking pounds his hog under the fucking table. All right, we can go ahead and we can say that. We can say that over and over and over again, because that's the simple, easy thing to do, and we can be like, oh my god, XQC's so bad, so bad. Guess what? Most of these
You're
people
mad.
are
You're
still-
actually mad. You're malding.
I am a little malding, and I'm okay with that because I like to feel emotions, and I don't really think there's a problem with feeling emotions. But
You're mad, bro.
I'm sure
You're
that
mad.
like, stoicism is great.
You admitted to being mad.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm a little
Can
fucking
we talk
mad
about
because
those
like I
YouTube
do
channels?
actually like talking about copyright and like doing these things, but I also realize that that's not something that you're going to engage with, because you're going to play Fortnite and just do the same conversation you had 4
You should
times.
be playing way more Fortnite.
I don't even know.
I
if
play
that's-
Magic.
I don't know if that's-
I've been playing Magic the Gathering Arena lately. So
Well,
Let's go.
Magic the Gathering
Wilds
don't know
Magic.
Fortnite,
dude,
bro.
Wilds
okay?
of Eldraine has been a really
I've
great
got my Magic deck right
experience.
here.
All the cool people
a
are
nerd
playing
off?
Fortnite.
I don't know about this. What did you want to say, Beckett? You were trying to get in. Hopefully something.
I don't know.
actually
I don't know
productive?
if that's true. Okay, like so straight up, I've dropped like I've got people in my chat being like, "Oh, Beckett's baiting fucking Tom." But yeah, like I don't think I'm a politics streamer really anymore. Most of my shit is like covering like. To be fair, I started covering bronies and furries, so like
Yeah, you just look at fat people and fucking sexual deviants and try to.
I do. That is
was
mostly
versioning
what I
from
do,
your
like
fucking
fucking
modern
zoo
society,
files, diaper
right?
furs, and
That's
all the
what
other
you
shit.
What is your
That's what your
channel?
thing
Have I
is, try
seen
to
your
actually
channel?
target people, right?
No,
That's it. You're literally
hold
doing
on,
what every
I'll
other
DM
person
you-
on your
no, I'll
shit
DM you later,
fucking
'cause I
island
really-
does.
hold on,
You
shut the fuck
fucking
up!
British freak.
Oh my god, I'm trying to fucking help you. No, because okay, straight up.
What are you helping me with?
I fucking
play
because I
Magic.
disagree with you because again, like Tom's somebody who's like been like makes content on multiple things. Like
Okay.
he brought up Sargon's case earlier. I think that's pretty big for the community. There's actually quite a lot of cases like in general history of the way like YouTube has viewed copyright, and it goes wider than just XQC. And I don't know. I think it's a fairly engaging.
Well, what
thing.
about
I think it's really interesting as well.
Okay,
What about
to be
COVID
clear,
vaccines? What about
I think-
COVID vaccines
I
and the fact that
think
there are copyrights
when
that we
people-
as countries in the West
I
paid for, that
think
these
you're mad.
companies now fucking own and aren't a part of what we're
Dude.
doing? They have illegal copyrights. What about that?
You're
Why don't we
coping.
talk about that sort of copyright stuff?
Okay, the reason why is because I think when people hear copyright debate, you're right. Maybe if it was like a perfect intellectual setting, we would be having
Yeah,
a
I know.
conversation about the origin of copyright. But obviously, like practically, when I heard copyright debate, I instantly knew we'd be talking about XQC stuff. And the reason I knew that is because that's what people care about right now, and that's in the zeitgeist. So I assumed
I thought that was
reasonably.
like 2 weeks ago, though. I thought that was the zeitgeist like 2 weeks ago.
I mean, it is, but Wick's 40, so he has to be
I'm a
conservative.
little
and
slow,
react 2
it
weeks
was
okay?
ago.
already out of the thing. I thought that we were on like socialism versus capitalism as like the zeitgeist, right?
Look, I already had the
Bro.
shoplifting debate yesterday. That was on point with the zeitgeist. That's what we've been talking about, right?
I guess to be honest, if you ever bring me on a panel, don't expect me to say anything serious about politics because I kind of don't care. So
Well, I didn't invite you,
You,
on a
like-
politics panel. I brought you on this one because you
with
do-
political people who want to talk about socialism and capitalism.
Flowtrace has
and
enjoyed
fucking-
it. Beckett
I
has
love
enjoyed
it.
it. I don't know if Rezzy
Just
has
to be clear,
enjoyed it,
the only work
To be clear-
system is
to
a
To be clear, I'm not complaining about you guys talking about it. I'm just saying I may not have too much to add, or other guests may feel a clash between my subject material and what they want to talk
Do you
about.
guys watch those YouTube channels where like they have a text-to-speech summarized like a movie in like 8 minutes with clips to? I love those channels. I like watch
I
those
don't.
every
I
night.
know they exist,
Tom, I actually want to ask you questions because there's a reason I asked you about the archive channels and stuff like this, and like it's quite weird because I'm like I've watched content for a long time. I remember back in the time when money was sort of a dirty word, and I think your content's really good. It's really interesting,
Thank you.
but it's it's your business, and it's quite a weird clash to see someone like you rise versus what I sort of. I guess I not grew up. I was in my 20s, but watching that, and it was interesting seeing what you'd say about archive channels because I remember the OK TV drama where they were taking down archive channels. They were like, no, we want to monetize that content. It's ours. And
Yeah, I mean to be clear, I wouldn't take it down if it was an archive of a video I like privated for some reason. I wouldn't take it down. I wouldn't monetize it whatsoever. If it's a re-upload of a video I made, if that has happened, I haven't seen it. I don't think anybody's done that. If they did do that and it was getting views, I would probably just claim it so I get the revenue. But I don't really have like an attachment to like, oh, the views don't show up on my video, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, like, if it's just for archival purposes, would you be fine with like Internet Archive? Like, if your videos went there, it's like in case.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
I mean, the thing that I would want to monetize if it's on the same platform and the content serves the same purpose and it could like be a replacement in the algorithm for my video, then I would claim it. I wouldn't take it down. I would just claim the revenue, you know?
I mean, in the long term, like you may like depending on how things develop, you may have the ability to like further monetize and like take more ownership. It might become more corporate. I don't know whether you're part of like I'm assuming you're not, but I'm assuming you like whether you're part of like one of these sort of groups that manage content creators.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think that if you're talking about like, are you talking about like an MCN or are you talking about like this newer like OTK type thing?
I'm like an MCN.
An MCN, I think MCNs are pretty much scams for the most part. The only usefulness I've seen, which is pretty rare, but I mean, it is an important thing if it does happen, is like if you're signed to an MCN and your channel gets deleted, sometimes they'll have a direct contact at YouTube, which like I don't have that. I have 1 million subscribers basically. I don't have that, right? So that can be one benefit, but yeah, other than that, like the MCNs pretty much just take 10 to 20% of your money, and then they just fucking
they just take it.
Do nothing. I mean, they basically the way that MCNs do it
That's
is like
business model.
they get your paycheck and they pay you, which is kind of crazy. But back in the day, they were the reason MCNs exist is because back in the day you couldn't partner with YouTube. There was no YouTube partnership for gaming channels, which is why Machinima existed.
Okay.
And there had to be the middleman. I guess we're kind of getting in the weeds right now, but
speaking of taking people's money, we've got a few super chats. We're gonna read some here. And this is from our friend Testicle Johnson. I pooped in the ocean before. You're welcome. Well, thank you for that tidbit. I appreciate that. From STV Philly, to Turkey Tom. If you were banned from YouTube, would you be all right with someone making money, archiving your old videos, and making money from it?
If I was banned?
Yes.
I'd be okay with them archiving it. I would claim it, though, and I would take the money.
I think the idea is you can't, though, because you're banned.
You don't have to have a Google account to claim stuff. Even if you're banned, you can still use like the DMCA thing to claim it, and then it'll go to your bank. So I would do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I would not.
Let's
I wouldn't
say hypothetically,
like, take it
for
down.
some reason, you couldn't. For whatever reason, like you're a fugitive at large, you can't file legal like DMCA's.
I mean, I probably wouldn't sue them. I'd probably just try to do something else. I feel like it wouldn't be worth the time. Maybe in a perfect world, if there was a button I could press to siphon all the money to my bank, like I would do that. But I feel like lawsuits are usually a waste of time. Like realistically, if someone re-uploaded my stuff after I was gone, like how much would they make? Like probably not that much. So I don't know.
I'm just gonna check here, but you're not gonna like copyright claim all of our stuff just because you've been on this stream with us. Like it's your content now.
No, I've
never
even
be funny.
To be clear, I've never even.
I'm gonna copyright Tom.
You don't have to worry.
I've never even filed a claim in my life. I've never filed a copyright claim. So yeah, that would be really funny though if I just bankrupted all of you. But no, I wouldn't do that.
Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe if I get deleted, then I'll just do it out of spite, just to fuck with people. Just to be like, oh, YouTube, you want me deleted? Or you don't get any of me. So I would just like obsess for hours, like claiming people's content. I wouldn't even claim the revenue. I would just strike people to get their channel deleted, hopefully. But yeah, no, I think probably not.
Darius in his super jazz asked me to ask your panelists who is less capable
of
what?
Bitches be less capable. Response.
What?
It's a meme in my community.
Is that like a misogynist thing? You're like
It
a
is a
misogynist?
misogynist thing because Darius
Oh,
is
fuck off. Your entire
Base.
community is wine mums. What are you talking about?
That's true. I do monetize single women a lot in my show. Okay, that's how I make my money.
You pimp them out?
Yeah, it is what it is, right? I gotta drain them of their bank accounts somehow. Fair enough.
Pimp that pussy.
Their money, specifically. Okay, well, I think we've kind of like circled the drain on this one. Do we want to take some callers for a little bit before we call it a day?
Bring him in.
Tiberius, you've been molding in chat. Come on in. We'll see what you got to say.
Oh, fuck it all.
Yeah, guys, cannot recommend those YouTube channels that do text-to-speech summaries of the movies enough. I watch all my movies that way now.
They are actually really good. Yeah, they're actually really good.
Not all. I still get out I still get out in the theater for bangers like Avatar 2: The Way of Water. But anything else, for the most part, I'm just gonna go see the
Is that real? You're trolling.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
trolling.
dude,
I can see the smile on your face. You
That's what
fuck.
everyone thinks. That's what everyone thinks when I first tell them about this. Hold on, let me.
Why do you care about finding out the plot of a movie though? If you don't want to watch it,
it's just fun. It's just good content. What do you mean? It's fire content.
Okay, fair enough. I gotta get in that market then.
Red, what do you got for us? You're live.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes. What you got?
We can.
I did just get here. I haven't been able to watch the whole thing. Did small streamers come up with React content or any smaller creators?
In what way?
I think it was probably brought up. Like in what context is your question?
Because one of the solutions I've heard to React content is getting consent for reacting to it, which I think will just like naturally screw over any small creators. Because like if I want to react to like Turkey Tom or anyone else, my messages are probably going to stay on red just because I'm like a 10 viewer, 20 viewer Andy. So I was wondering if that came up at all or any thoughts on that.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess typically like you can just kind of interpret like people's policy based on what they typically do. Like I've never claimed someone for reacting to my stuff, so you could probably assume reasonably I'm not going to claim you. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I was just curious on that.
Red, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, Norris.
Tiberius, you're live. Hello.
Hey, Ty.
You're
You
not
on
coming
mute?
through.
Your time to shine, buddy.
Cat got your tongue?
They
Beautiful.
DMCA'd his tongue.
Gang, while we're waiting
Yeah.
for me, we're going to give him a second to fix this shit. But if you want to comment, if you have a question for anyone on the panel, if you have a thought that you don't think we've explored, or if you just want to shoot your shit for like 2 minutes until I'm bored with you, exclamation point Discord and chat. Click the link, accept the rules, jump backstage. We'll pull you on and we'll field your question for a little bit. Tiberius.
Check 1, 2.
Oh, beautiful.
There we go.
We fixed it. What you
Hey,
got for us?
yeah, sorry about that. In the fields out here from Harvest, so connection's a little wonky,
For
even though
Harvest?
I have 5G now.
Are you farming?
Yeah. Yep. Got to pay the bills somehow, so I'm in the wage cage.
Yo, they made that real thing from like Minecraft. That's awesome.
Yes. Anyway,
Let's go.
first and foremost, I'm just absolutely shocked that Wick would bring such awesome people together and then not invite me. So shame on Wick. But more
Shame.
importantly, though, so React content's a little weird. And I didn't get a chance to really catch most of the show for obvious reasons. But like, I want to really get into Beckett and Rez here for a second, because like Rev constantly does like a lot of React content, just talks to people, and I don't know how the fuck you do it, dude. And then Beckett is just amazing on panels, and then he does React content. I want to like slowly rip my fucking eyes out. So, can you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I when I'm doing React content, I very specifically curate the videos that I'm watching to be something that either A, I can add something to through perspective, or if I see something when I'm watching a video offline, I'm like, okay, I don't like what this person said. So what I do is I actually kind of seek out things that I'm like, I disagree with this person, or I want to make counter proposal arguments to what they're saying. Or, and the other end of it that I do it is trying to go ahead and make a charter, like historically, like for instance, the 𝕾𝖎𝖙 shit that has been around and about. There's been a lot of like kind of things that have popped up with it. So yesterday I got a little narrative constructed. I didn't actually watch through what everybody's arguments were beforehand, but watched the arguments as they happened, deconstructed them, and then went ahead and put them out to my audience. I think that this is a better way of React content, which ultimately I think realistically in the first 5 minutes, Beckett and Flowtrace like laid out, this is actually probably how we should be doing React content rather than XQC's React content of, hey, I'm going to sit and just watch this video for like a long period of time. I do that just because I think it's better content than just sitting and watching a video. I just literally get bored if I'm not doing that. And I like to have audience interaction. I think that's at times a big goal of live streaming. If you're not just having like a whole presentation that you want to go ahead and put forth to your audience, right? I think that is just kind of how I do it. But then, yeah, I don't know. There was like 4 people here. I didn't really feel like getting like, I don't know. I have to get stoned if I want to like start yelling at people. I'm like one of those weirdos. So it's like, yeah, I didn't do drugs today, so I'm sorry that I didn't do drugs today.
I got
I'll
you.
make sure to change that in the future.
Beckett, you were also addressed. Go ahead.
I was also addressed. I think it's really hard. I think, firstly, I'm a hobbyist, so don't expect shit out of me. Part of the reason I do React content is I like talking to people in my chat. I'm very heavily invested talking to the very small community I have because I enjoy doing that. Part of the reason I do less panels is because I don't get to do that as much because it's very hard to stop doing this. Like if I want to talk to chat now, I don't mute myself and then go and talk to them. I'll type in my chat to my community. Depends on the React content as well. Like as I say, I'm doing much more stuff now, which is stuff I was doing right when I started of stuff that's probably going to get me banned from Twitch. But I'm having more fun doing it, and some of the React content's good. I've got a bit more bored of doing pure. I find so like one of my community members sent me a load of like copyright IP stuff, ironically nothing to do with this, the other day for Nintendo, and I just couldn't make it enjoyable. I felt boring doing it, and I'm trying to improve. But yeah, I think React content can actually be really difficult to do well. I just think sometimes it's just fucking boring to watch, and I'd rather just watch the video. I don't really understand people who watch people play video games where they're just like I say this playing. I was playing 𝕾𝖍𝖎 earlier, and I've never really got that. I can't watch people just play a video game. It's weird.
I think that with video games, it's weird because I think that when I'm looking, I personally like my consumption off stream is largely watching competitive video gaming, specifically Age of Empires 2, League of Legends, and then some other like random games here and there, something that I can find that a lot of times you have like individualized approaches to it and seeing how individuals go ahead and assert themselves. I think that I think that's gaming content that's decent. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I think most gaming content is a lot of times rough. Unless, again, you are developing some parasocial bond with the person who is making that content in the first place.
Tiberius, does that answer your question?
Yeah, to a large degree. I did want to kind of just
well, we do have a line, so just.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah,
go ahead and kick me out.
Okay, Tiberius, we love you, and have
Dude,
fun.
Yeah, I love you too, guys.
I don't mean to be short or curt. I want to try to get to as many people as we can. STV Philly, you're live. What you got?
So just real quick, I have 2 points I guess I want to make. The first is going to be actually, it's going to be a copyright question, and for anybody who's dealt with it. So on my other channel, I do like gang beef breakdowns, but I also include like snippets of music videos. And on one of my this video is like 20 minutes long, and long story short, a company had claimed 5 seconds of the video. No, they struck my channel, took the video down, and it was a second portion. So I guess basically my question is has anybody had any experience with copyright strikes, because YouTube, it seems like, was discouraging me from doing a counterclaim, and I'm like scared to because I've never dealt with this before. Like when I tried to write my counterclaim saying this is fair use, YouTube like automatically rejected it and said, we think you are misusing the counterclaim notification system. And so like I kind of just left it alone. The strike's still on my channel, but my first question was, does anybody have any experience with that?
Basically, the way it works is that gets sent to, I don't know if it's YouTube legal, but it's someone who has to review that statement. And basically, if you don't give like an in-depth explanation of how your content doesn't violate fair use, then they're going to reject it. You can't just say this is fair use. It has to be like paragraphs about why it's fair use. It has to be in-depth. And even sometimes they'll reject it just because they don't look at it closely enough. But if you're filing, if you think your content's fair use, and you genuinely have read the legal doctrine, you think it is, and you give like a good faith explanation, there's no reason that YouTube is gonna like delete your channel or something. If you file a counter notification, you're gonna be fine. I've had that happen too before. Like I'll send it the first time, it gets rejected. I send it again, they put the notification through. So sometimes it can just be finicky, but YouTube's not trying to discourage you from like filing counter notifications or disputes.
So even if I'm wrong, like worst case scenario is the person can sue me, but like my channel's not going to be like in
If
jeopardy
you're
or anything,
wrong,
right?
worst case scenario, if you're wrong about the counter notification specifically,
like
worst case scenario is the video stays down unless you decide to follow through again, in which case they may take you to court. But I don't think most of these claimants are even going to take people to court.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to suppress the video, to be honest, because like what I talk about on my channel has a lot to do with like street beefs and stuff. And this person, I guess, was like not in that life anymore, and he was included in the video and didn't want to be, so he just took the whole video down. Like that's not even like I'm just worried about the channel. Like if I were to challenge this, is my channel in jeopardy? And basically, what I've heard from other people, and including you, Tom, is that like the worst case that can happen is just the video will stay down. So okay,
it could have your channel could be in jeopardy if you have a reasonable expectation that you did violate fair use, or that person would take you to court at that moment. But I think both of those are unlikely. So you're probably good. I would just file the dispute. Make sure. The unfortunate part is you have to use your real name, which sucks, but that is just part of it.
The only thing I know in regards to with sort of partial content like that is that usually when those do go to court, there's some sort of evaluation of what percentage of the income made on the thing was dependent on the specific part that is copyrightable. I remember the example I brought up with LeBron James and his tattoo. The woman who designed the art for LeBron James' tattoos sued, I think it is 2K, is the basketball game, right? She sued the game because when it created LeBron James' model, it included that tattoo, but she only ended up winning, I think, like $4,000 or something, because the courts were like, this is like 0.01% of why the game made money. So you're not going to have access to any of the huge revenues that it had.
Okay, and so
your question?
It does. So, and I have one more thing, just like on the topic that what you guys were talking about. Coincidentally, I was watching Turkey Tom's second channel today, and there was a video that you uploaded, Turkey Tom, about the response to Illuminati, and I just wanted to say, like, that is a model response video. Like, when you want to talk about like fair use, if anybody's interested, what you did was you took whose video was that?
Oz Media. It would have been
Oz Media, yes. You took his video. You took his video and you commented. You paused like every 20 seconds or so, but you actually added to the video with your commentary extra knowledge that people who would have watched the original video wouldn't have had. And just I make a long story short, I basically just wanted to say that like that is the model, I think, of how you should handle reaction videos.
Is this a plan? Is this a plan? Is this a plan?
Philly, we love you.
No.
Oh, I watched this video recently on a channel. It was really good.
He's an honest citizen, just saying what we were all thinking anyways.
Received. I'm heading to mid lane now.
All right, glazing over. That's all I had to add.
Okay,
Thanks,
Philly, thanks for coming
bro.
by. We'll see you
Have a
later.
good one.
What a wonderful gentleman. Okay, let's bring on the next guest.
He said a lot of true things.
What you got, buddy?
All right, so let me hold on. Can I turn my camera on?
I don't know. Can you?
What the fuck? There we go. Jesus. Well, I need to reset my settings. Okay, so I have a couple things. One short, one long. So on the short side, I was listening to this on the way home from work, and anytime React content gets brought up, I always think of this idea of basically doing like a video commentary track almost, where like I set it up, I put the camera on and say, hey guys, I'm reacting to this video, and I have like a little time bar alongside my YouTube video that shows where I'm at in the video. And I thought that as a way to do React content very ethically, where you're not just watching the video straight up. You have the viewer has to also like have the original video open, and like, you know, if I pause, I tell them pause and all that stuff. So I thought I was wanting to get your guys' idea of how you would feel if you think that would be like an ethical thing, and or if it would succeed.
I think that would be ethical. I doubt it would succeed. I think people would just
I
click
think
off
that-
because they're so lazy. It reminds me of director commentary tracks. Sorry, Rezzy, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I think that yeah, that is something that's going to be difficult because one, like you're going to have viewers that are going to cut out of the stream, they're going to miss it and everything like that. I personally think the better option to do, and what I do generally whenever I have videos that are from significantly smaller creators or whatever, that it's like I can make some level of difference in the amount of likes that they do, which are going to change the way that their algorithm works. I literally berate my chat until they give it enough likes, you know, to actually do stuff. I think that that's actually a better way to do it. And I've had like good responses to it with several people that I interacted with where I'm like, hey, I watch your content, want to talk to you about this afterwards. And then they go back through and they're like, oh yeah, you know, it was nice of you to do it. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. I think that is like, I think that's probably, if you're going to be doing React content, the best way to do it. Though again, at some point, it's like at the very least you have to should have to post the video in your chat so that way people can engage with it, and then heavily suggest to them that they should engage with it.
Yeah, like, and to be fair, my idea is more so for like putting it up as a YouTube video, because like streaming wise, I would if I was live streaming my recording of a reaction, I would be doing like, you know, having the video on the screen, me on the screen, but I would try and do stuff like, hey, here's a link to the video, go give it a like, or if there's an ad, you know, play the ad all the way through. Hell, even copy the link from the sponsor.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying. So I think that like when it comes to the YouTube video thing, it requires you to do editing. Where it's like, oh, you want to say something. I'm assuming you're not live streaming YouTube. Like when you're talking about this, you're talking about uploading a video.
I live stream to multiple platforms.
Okay,
YouTube, Twitch,
fair.
Kick.
Yeah. So are you talking about uploading something after the fact, or okay? So if you're uploading it after the fact, just a general note. You need to cut out filler. That is just definitely. all sorts of like prepared content has to cut out filler. Sure you can't be wasting your words. You need to get your shit out quickly and not belabor it and go into like 7 more sentences about what you're trying to say. I've done
okay. Second thing actually.
Before you go to your second thing, $5 from Testicle Johnson to tell you that you look like Jack the Ripper.
That's funny because my burns, my mom specifically called me. Says hair? No. I do my own hair. If I get trimmed down, I go to a salon. But but she's like, you look like Wolfman Jack, which is way before my time. I think it's
not
before
what your mom tells me. Fair enough.
Okay.
What's your second thing? Go ahead.
So to Rezzy, copyright. Now, of course we've been talking about React content. But I want to specifically bring up copyright in the form of Let's Plays and like video game based content.
So React content.
I mean, effectively React content with a little bit more interactivity. Like instead of just sitting there statically watching a video.
That's the thing. That's not. I don't think it's like interactivity. I mean, if it's React content, like you're playing a game, reacting to it live. And whatever, that's fine. But then you have people that go through like a video game donkey, great example. Go through a video game, they'll play it. Here are my main points of what I like about it. Here's what I thought was like dumb dipshit shit. You know, and here are like my presumptive thoughts. I think like when it comes to copyright there, the law, when it is basically run by fair use. And I think that when you're looking at the idea of what fair use is, it is super fucking nebulous. At the end of the day, I think that it's not very well defined. I think that's actually one of the biggest weaknesses of copyright in the modern day, is that fair use and copyright are not well defined. So it really just depends on how much you're willing to spend to lawyers, which is how Nintendo had a grip on the market for as long as it did. I think that's bad. And I think that, you know, we need to actually have some fundamental setup to say, hey, this is what constitutes transformative with like specific examples, and say that this is about where the line is. Otherwise, we will be stifling ingenuity simply because people don't want to risk wasting their time producing something that they think will be removed later due to those courts.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that?
Yeah. Anybody else on the panel?
No.
Like,
cool.
I mean, the main reason I was bringing up like video games is because of Tom. You know, he was playing Fortnite throughout the course of this discussion. So, like, I wanted to bring.
Yeah, I mean,
up,
technically that wouldn't qualify as fair use. I think companies just recognize that like there's an advertising power that comes with random streamers using their stuff, which is why they even offer like affiliate stuff for creators, right? Because they directly drive sales.
Yeah, that is. I think if we look at like Nintendo's history with it, because Nintendo was one of the only companies that they were like one of the latest signers on, I should say.
Yeah, every other game company recognizes like it just doesn't fucking make sense to play.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like you see a game, you are engaging with an audience, it's free advertising, and not only that, it's also good to develop developer contacts with the community, so that way the community will reach out to developers with bugs and other things like that. And a lot of times you'll see some content creators get tapped for that. A good example of this on Twitch would be 𝕵𝖎𝖎 and his work with Darkest Dungeon and Darkest Dungeon 2, where he was one of the largest creators playing that, played the ever-loving shit out of it, put a lot of information into it, which then was gone ahead, I believe it's Red Hook, was reabsorbed by them, and then like used to improve the original product of Darkest Dungeon 2 that they put out. And that's something that like I think was specifically noted.
Okay.
The one thing I will say is,
please,
just for single, I think there is a case to be made that's much stronger for single player games that are story driven. I remember when I was a young kid, there were some single player story games that I wanted, but I couldn't get. So I just settled for watching like the no commentary playthrough and like watch like all like 50 hours of some of those.
When it comes to like Telltale games or whatever, that is kind of
that is hitting the line the closest you can to like crossing over into breaking fair use. Because that's just straight up playing the game for this and the story and all that. It's just, and I feel like that's like the closest to the edge you can really get.
Despite that, I think companies like Telltale recognize, like, even though that is the case, it's not fair use. Like, the promotion still helps.
A lot of companies nowadays.
Gaming media basically uses the media uses the journalism around it as well. Like this is part of the problem with gaming media. Like journalists get flown out to like expensive things. If politicians did this to journalists, we'd call it corruption. And that's because they view media as all the expanded media as just advertising for
that's
them.
That's a whole other can of worms. That it's a whole other discussion.
It is a whole other discussion, my friend.
So
quickly, because we got a line, buddy.
No. I want to give a big shout outs in regards to like copyright stuff. Check out 𝕾𝖎 Law on YouTube. Amazing work. He covers legal. He's a lawyer, corporate lawyer. Covers a bunch. Of stuff.
Are you just bringing in people to plug?
Okay.
All of it's like a preamble, and then hey, have you seen?
Let me plug my shit. Which is fine. Look,
who the fuck is
they can get their back.
Can we go back to promoting me? I feel like
they can get their back.
Kind of.
Okay, well, so this guy might promote you. We got 𝕬𝖎𝖙 coming up next. I wonder which one of us he's going to ask to impregnate, but we'll find out.
You need a big sheep cane to like reach out and pull people off the call with.
𝕬𝖎𝖙, what you got?
I'm here to drop some rhetoric and disappear. Sorry about that, but basically, I think we should abolish copyright. It's not a legitimate form of work, and if we are real leftists, real anarchists, then we should be using all of the laws subversively in order to slowly dismantle this idea. This includes basically working for big companies and kind of level the playing field, use like content creator unions and whatever else we possibly can in order to make it basically irrelevant, if not totally irrelevant.
Comments on this?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Tom finally got his leftist.
yeah, here we go. Comment
Tom
from
spent the entire night being
yeah.
like, I'm going to be with politics.
Yeah, here we
people.
go.
Finally gets a politics person.
Yeah, comment from leftist on this. I think that pragmatic change is the only thing that actually works in the modern West, and that trying to go ahead and actually institute revolutionaryism is ultimately going to hurt the communities that you wish to help in the first place. I think that it's dog shit fucking ideology, and I think that pushing it does nothing to actually help the core problems and issues that come from copyright. I would rather see it reformed and then removed once we go ahead and make a way for people to actually exist without these protections. However, in the interim, I am assured that you wish for them to just simply go ahead, die out, and for Turkey Tom to be laid out in the street like so many dogs that have been run over by tractor trailers, rotting and festering in the summer sun.
Yeah. This
You're
is
mad.
actually
You're mad.
No, that's just fun. It's just
when I become president, I'm going to destroy
and I'm
every
an
leftist content creator. I'm going to outlaw it, okay?
I'm going to ban Hassan's
We're
Discord.
gonna use the moderation tools they use to get the fascists deplatformed to deplatform them. That's
I will
what
be
we're doing.
copyright
I'm gonna
claiming
use the
all
anti-fascist
leftists. I will be
tactic.
copyright claiming all.
Okay. Seattle, thanks for coming by.
All right. Enjoy.
Thanks, buddy.
Bro's name
We're
is
only gonna
Soy.
do take 2 more, gang, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So
Skull.
2 more.
Skull emoji.
Brat, what you got? You're live.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Can you hear me okay?
It's coming through loud and clear for me. What you got?
Okay, I did want to disagree with Turkey Tom for a second about video games not being necessarily fair use. I do feel like, especially when you're doing like walkthroughs or let's plays, that's necessary. Like that's your unique gameplay. So I would say that would be considered transformative, or even just a walkthrough would be considered transformative.
Why?
But have you guys heard about the Sniper Wolf versus Jax Films drama going on?
Yeah, we have, I think, probably.
Can you fill in those who aren't?
So Sniper Wolf has basically shifted from doing like video games over to reacting to random TikToks. But she's basically just like freebooting and not really adding any sort of commentary. Like she'll summarize the video as it's being played on screen. But she actually like crops out the videos, doesn't give anybody any credit. And so Jax Films actually got really upset because YouTube, like, I don't know, they shouted her out on Twitter and was like saying like, oh, how do you come up with such great content? And it's like, you're stealing it. Like she's legitimately stealing it.
I feel like
but
Jack getting mad at
YouTube has
YouTube though is like it's just a corporation that's like shouting out one of their biggest creators because she has so many subscribers. Like YouTube has no. I feel like getting mad at that is kind of like, I don't know, childish. It's like it's YouTube. They're a giant company. They're gonna say, you know, dumb shit like that. I feel like you just have to expect that. Like we don't live on a fucking farm where you know everyone. You know.
Speaking of cropping things out, the only time I've ever had issue with someone reacting my stuff is tomfoolery. Tomfoolery took one of my panels. He put on my panel. He cut out me from the panel, right? So
that's really funny.
Me out. He cut out all my
shit.
branding. He cut out everything, and he just had my guests on the panel. You could hear me on occasion talking, but he just literally excised me from the.
You're gonna be even more pissed. Hold on, Wednesday night. I started reacting to this IP stuff. The first video was someone who sounded like President Sunday. So I took your stream live, cut out everyone else, and just put President Sunday in the corner live talking over this fucking video because it sounded like him with no audio.
H3 used to do this thing where they would react to some of my friends and they would make sure every single time to crop out. He would have like a little overlay in the bottom that said his like Twitter handle and his name, and they would make sure to crop that out so they didn't show that while they made fun of him because they didn't want anyone to know his name, which is really, it's funny, but it's also like a little bit evil, you know.
Yeah, you know, it'd be crazy, Wick, is if someone did that to your panel, but instead of removing you, they put themselves over and then said everything you did win it. So like imagine you took a recording of this panel, then recorded yourself like in the bottom corner, put yourself over Wick, and you timed it so that you said everything Wick did. So it was like you hosted the panel. That would go crazy.
Yeah, I'd have some feelings about that. Not gonna lie, I'd have some.
It would be incredibly transformative. I mean, they're literally making sure they don't take any of your voice.
Okay. Anything else from that, Brat, that you wanted to talk about? Anything else? bring up?
No, I just
Which
got
one
a
of our
pushback
channels are you
against
shouting out?
the
Like, whose
the
channel are
video,
you shouting out?
Which channel? I'm not a person that's on the internet.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
She's a wicker, right? She's a proprietary
She's a
content.
wicker.
A wicker, yes. That's what the community members are. Wickers. We're all
Yo.
wickers. Wickers rise up. But Brat, what were you pushing back against? I'll give you some space to do so.
Mainly just the video game content. Like, I know that, Nintendo has their thing, especially with the Zelda games, where they try to go after everybody who just, like, uploads, even if it's your own gameplay, they just try to strike it down, and it's because they have that money, and I think that there should be a system in place for that. But I think YouTube's doing the best it can by giving you an option in the description to, like, put the game that you are playing in there, and then it basically like links it to everywhere where you could go and download and play the game. And I feel like maybe a plugin for like streamers who do React content might be the like way to go with that. So if you are reacting to another streamer or like another person's video, that it just automatically picks up, the VOD that you're watching and puts it in the description with a timestamp, so that if people want to go watch the full video themselves, they can just like click on a little thumbnail down below.
Maybe.
I think the worry is that a system like that would have inaccuracies and misfires. So there's people who are reacting to, let's say Destiny, or well, he's banned. Let's say let's say Hassan is streaming on Twitch, and I'm reacting to his stream, and it's appropriate. I am getting tagged, and he is getting linked and getting revenue share. But what if for example, on YouTube, someone makes a video critiquing Hassan and uses a couple clips, and then the system thinks you're reacting to Hassan's stream and starts giving him a rev share? The problem with all these systems is it doesn't seem like YouTube or Twitch or anyone has a really good way to actually distinguish true like React content versus stuff that's transformative.
Well, that's why I was thinking like a plugin, mainly not so much for like rev sharing, but just to give credit to the person that they're reacting to where it picks up on whatever URL of the video that you're watching and just puts that URL with a thumbnail down in the description.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool.
That'd be nice. They do that for games, don't they? Sometimes the content ID will recognize the game and it'll
Or
put
for
you in the
songs.
description.
YouTube does that for songs or they try.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that'd be nice.
They do it for songs, they do it for the video games. I think that it'd be good for like other people's content as well.
True.
It would be. Brat, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Last of the night. Leopold, what you got?
Oh, hello. First of all, big fan of Turkey Tom. Turkey Tom, I think you and me have a common friend.
Who's our common friend?
Yeah, do you know Aiden? That guy who was like a leftist, but now he's kind of, I don't know, he kind of moved in.
For some reason, I knew you would know him when I saw like the Roman profile picture. But,
it's not Roman, it's Alexander the Great.
Okay, whatever the fuck it is, like... You guys know the kind of person I'm talking about. These people with
I
the
know
old
who you're talking about. Marvel statue,
and the fucking
PFP,
yes, he's one of those. Yeah, I guess we both.
Sorry that I like beauty. Yeah, sorry. Like also,
I'm not asking you to apologize. It's okay.
If you like beauty, then your profile picture would be like Avatar 2 or something.
That's so soy. Like, sorry, Soy Central called you.
Okay,
I have a couple of questions here. Turkey Tom, listen, Turkey Tom. I've been studying racial anthropology at University of Peter Nemetz, and your like facial structure fascinates me because it's really like hard to pin down. Because like you have like a Balkanoid face, but you have like very Asiatic eyes. Like, what's your ancestry?
I'm sorry. What was the second thing you said?
Like you have like a Balkanoid face, right? Very
yeah. But what was the second thing you said?
Yeah, but you can have Asian Hapa eyes. Like you don't really have like European eyes. Like, what's your ancestry? Because you told it like your mother is Bulgarian, but what's your like paternal ancestry?
My mother is 100% Bulgarian. My dad is English, and there's some like Spanish and Portuguese and French Canadian in there.
Interesting, because like like people would say, well, like he has Asiatic eyes because he's Bulgarian, but Bulgarians are like mostly Neolithic. They don't really have a lot of.
Why don't you analyze all the other people on the panel? Don't give me special treatment.
No, I mean,
what's their makeup?
Like, they're very common. But listen, I have a couple of things to say.
Oh,
first of all, as you can say, I'm a very far right person, but I have to agree with Rezzi. I think this apathy towards politics is just disgusting. Like, I cannot force you to care about politics, but I don't think Rezzi should be attacked for like caring or trying to look at the deeper political implications of copyright striking. And second of all, about the whole thing about what was the thing? I'm kind of being Joe Biden here. The thing about fucking React content. Who the hell cares? Like, it's trash content, and I don't think we should really care about some minor YouTuber is getting fucked up. Like, who the hell cares?
True. Fuck the little guy. They can go bankrupt. Brokey.
I mean, can you give me
True.
Can you give me actual moral reason why I should care?
Hold on.
Empathy.
Very little of any of this matters. It is like when we're talking about like whether it's political content, rap content, fucking like makeup tutorial content.
I don't. Okay.
I was asking why we should care about.
I don't demand that you should care.
Their Balkanoid faces.
I don't demand that you care, but obviously, as like a YouTuber, like I'm gonna care.
I mean, sure, like I guess, but like you were kind of giving it to the audience.
Why are you watching this if you don't care?
Because I want to talk to 𝕾𝖍𝖐. Like, I find his apathy extremely annoying.
He wants
like,
to go
I don't see how a person could like live in modern age and not care about the situation it is.
In his life.
Like, think about this.
I mean, to give you an answer, like I've probably just had a relatively easy life, and like as a result, like I haven't. And as a result, I haven't had to care about these issues and contend for them, and therefore I'm somewhat selfish, and so I don't really care about politics.
I mean, I also had an easy life, so like I don't see how it like matters.
It doesn't really interest me. Also, it doesn't really. I don't think it would benefit me to really think about it very much. I think it would honestly. I think it would just divide my audience. I don't aim to be a political creator. I aim to talk about like bullshit drama on the internet.
Yeah. So money above virtue. I see. Very Bulgarian mindset.
I guess so, a little bit.
This is like of all the things.
That's how you know he's like a real race realist, because everything is like ties back to my ethnicity. I mean, I guess money above.
I knew the minute I looked into your 𝕬𝖎 eyes, I fucking.
This feels like fucking astrology for racists. It feels like astrology for racists, where they could like get you facial structure.
I don't get the listen.
To answer your question genuinely, I don't think it's a virtue necessarily to be politically informed. I don't think I have to care.
I don't think so. I don't think it's very virtuous because, you know, a person is created by the community. He doesn't create the community. That's Aristotle. But of course, you haven't read him, right? The thing is, it's virtuous to care about the community because it's the community that bore and raised you. Like, the reason you actually can profit of this is because, you know, the founding fathers actually, you know, started fighting, and the reason you are, you know, in this place where you are is because there had to be some people behind you, you know, in the past that had to, you know.
But modern political issues are so stupid, especially on the internet. Like modern political issues modern political issues are like, this guy said the N-word. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care.
But like, don't you think it's a political issue that like cops like can kill a black guy and then like black guys can like fucking burn down cities and like nobody stops them?
I mean,
you don't think that's a problem?
I think it's
more than you do.
I think it's bad for cops to kill black people.
Why?
I also
why? No, tell me why. Why is it bad for them to kill?
Can we just have a moment of silence for that brave opinion?
Are we good? Like,
okay. Leopold,
I just want to ask you, can you give me a reason why?
Send him a fucking email, man. Set up a conversation.
Yeah, give him a DM.
Seriously,
give him a DM. It's easy. He'll come on my show. Look, he'll come on my show, and I'm a small-time creator.
Like, just keep fucking calling him slurs and shit. Just go for it, dude.
No, because like that would be uncivilized. Please, we are
you know what else is uncivilized? Getting sent to the void.
Damn, I didn't get to tell him why racism is bad, bro.
No, Turkey, I don't know, Turkey. You nailed that guy. He was on the profile picture, and you just knew instantly.
Yeah, like, because the thing is a type of person, and I know them.
Yeah,
I've been. The thing is, like, I've known people like that, and I think they're kind of funny, and like, but like, I understand why you probably wouldn't want them on this panel, but yeah, I instantly, and the second you see one of those profile pictures, you can just clock the kind of guy they are. You know,
I wouldn't mind having him on for like a legit discussion about it, if that was the topic, right? Like if I set up a topic,
what is the topic? What's wrong with Tom's eyes?
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Like, is that the topic?
I thought that was kind of interesting that he was calling me Asian, because I've gotten that before. But I only found that interesting personally. I was like, why the fuck does anyone here care? You know.
I was wanting to see where he would go with it, right? Like okay, so
I thought it might tie back into copyright somehow. I was considering how the 𝕬𝖎𝖏 stuff would tie into XQC. I was really heavily thinking about that.
XQC reacts to 𝕬𝖎𝖏 trial.
Okay.
Yo! I can't say what I want to say. You just said something so fire, though. You're my favorite person on this
Why
panel.
can't you say it? Why can't you say it? Don't use a slur.
It's just... I'm not kidding.
Don't use a slur.
I can't say it. I can't... No, I'm just kidding. Let's say XQC reacts... XQC reacts to the famous video. You know what you guys know the one? Is it fair use?
Yo, what's he doing?
Wait,
Okay.
chat. Is he actually saying like he can't breathe, chat? Sorry.
Okay. Gang, this has been a discussion.
Fucking amazing.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you all. Next week we got some banger content. Monday we're gonna have quite a few people on. We're gonna have Irrelevant on. We're gonna have Brittany Simon on. We're gonna be talking about age gaps and relationships. Tuesday we're gonna have Smeth
That's gonna be
on
fire.
to talk to him about why he has problems with Pixie, because he's very mad that Pixie is trying to quote unquote parasocially date her audience. So we'll see how that goes. Wednesday we're going to be covering the Republican primary debates, and then Thursday we're going to have Short Fat Otaku Dev going to be facing off against Karl Marx on a wide variety, including free speech. But for now, we bid thee adieu. Who are we raiding into, gang? Who are we going to? Rezzy, are you going to keep streaming after this?
Don't raid me.
I'm gonna raid you, Rezzy.
I wasn't fucking here. Like, you shouldn't raid me. Raid Flowtrace. He's streaming, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Later. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yep.
Hey, Flowtrace, we're coming to you. Rezzy, I'm sorry that this wasn't fun for you.
No, it's fine. I don't give a shit. Like, it's fine. I just like, yeah, I'm gonna yell a little bit because that's what people fucking want. Like, at the end of the fucking day, all right, it was just what was it? We all just agreed about everything, and then just like didn't go into anything we could disagree on, and then we tried to look for solutions when we can never make them. So
I enjoyed the conversation, but maybe that's.
Hey, I'm glad. Hey, Wick, as long as you're happy, it takes me one step away from the cliff that I will inevitably someday.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay, we're gonna raid out. We'll see you guys later.
Okay,
pleasure. And thank you again for you know what.
Yeah, no worries, man. And in a bit, let's.